Mark. What do you think about this current era where there's a lot of, like, let's just say it, marks that are now wrestling reporters because they're paying wrestlers, whether it's Steven Richards or whoever the guy is that works with Jim Cornette. They've done nothing in wrestling, but they present themselves as experts, and people are actually valuing their opinion as if they actually have some knowledge, but they've never promoted, they've never wrestled, and they've never booked. And if it wasn't for this new video interview style, they would never even be anything. What do you think? Would you have imagined this to happen?
Yeah, Hannibal, you are 1,000% correct with that. And I'll tell you why. Bro, I am a huge baseball fan. I've been a huge baseball fan, bro, since 1970. So how many, what is that? 55 years. Bro, never in a million years would I start a baseball podcast where all of a sudden I'm an authority. Never in a million years would I do that. If I ever want to do a baseball podcast, I would say every 5 minutes, I am a fan. I am a fan. I am a fan. Why? Because I've never been in the dugout. I've never laced up a pair of spikes, bro. I have no idea what it's really like. These guys think they're a part of it. They've actually convinced themselves they're a part of it. And you know, bro, that's fine, bro. If you guys want to live in fairy tale land and the Sean Sapps of the world and really think you're a part of the business, that's fine, bro. But the sad thing is, bro, if you're one of these people paying them money to get their views on a business they were never a part of, again, I'm going to say it. You're an idiot, bro. You're an idiot. There are so many podcasts out there, including Hannibal, you know, of people that have actually been in the business. Because, bro, if you haven't been in the business, you don't know shit. And, bro, like I said, man, as a baseball fan, I would never convince myself or you that I was ever a part of the baseball business. I never was.
Yeah, and the only thing that really drives me crazy about these guys is when they start talking tough, and I know they haven't been in a real fight, right, and they'll never talk, even to you. I know none of these guys would talk to you like that in person. They sure as hell wouldn't talk to that to me, because I don't talk bad about anyone I wouldn't fight.
Right.
Because I am a wrestler, I might run into these people. So if I think someone might be able to beat me up, I'm not going to go after them.
Right.
That's just
opinions, yeah, we bring the rage. Truth hits hard like a chair shot swing. Legends get tested when the real ones sing. No filter talk, yeah, we say it proud. If you got a problem, say it out loud. Lights go down. We ignite the sound. No backing down when the truth comes out. With a nano filter case, yeah, we run this game. Monte and the Pharaoh, remember the name. Turn it up loud, let the whole world hear. We bring the heat, bring the pain, bring the fear. No filter case, yeah, we cross that line.
All right, welcome back to the Howard Stern, the pro wrestler Monte The Pharaoh, seen here out of the Pharaoh's dungeon and the Monte Man Cave. We'll be back in studio at some point. We've been saying it for almost a year, but we'll get there. Jimmy and I just working through some logistical situations. Yeah, Jimmy.
Yo.
How are you, buddy?
Good. I heard Hannibal's going to beat up Vince Russo. Boy, I called that one, huh?
You know what's funny about that whole thing? You notice, we've played this video enough, but he says at one point, if I know someone can beat me up, I'm not going to start with them, right? I think he said that, right?
To more or less, yeah. Yeah, more
Listen,
or less.
man, again,
When did we ever say we could beat Hannibal up, and when did we ever say we would fight him? So it's funny that he's still threatening to beat us up.
listen, dude.
It's like, dude, stop. Don't you have something else to do?
Listen, man. Honestly, like who fights at our age anyway? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, all the way to the med room.
I don't know, man. As I get older, Jimmy and I were talking before the show, and first of all, I want to tell everybody, Mikey Whipwreck got booked on a wrestling show, so we had a kind of reverse shows. Mikey will not be here tonight, but his replacement, the president, longtime family member Phil DeCesare, will be here, and we're going to talk about the top 10 pro wrestlers or wrestling figures that influence the industry.
Oh, Mike, real quick.
Yeah.
Speaking of wrestling figures, where's our wrestling figure? Triple Nose has a wrestling figure.
I know. What is that all about?
It's one
Jimmy?
of one. He plays with it every night.
This goes back into the conversation we had earlier. At what point does this shit get a little bit out of... Look, we were talking about, like, if people want to do stuff, it's their art, they want to entertain, it's all well and good. Some people do better than others, that's all well and good. But when you're going out there making fucking dolls of yourself... Come on, man.
Right. See, this is where Humble takes a complete back seat and the real obnoxious asswipe is shown. In my opinion, when we have, this is how it should organically work. If you're just trying to do the right thing and are not in love with yourself, someone falls in love with watching your program. You're fortunate enough to have a program and they really enjoy it. And they sit down and they take weeks to make a painting that is behind my co-host. That's gratitude. That makes you feel good about yourself. You don't sit there and go, hey, I should have a doll of myself. I just sold out Freeport High.
Jimmy, a lot of times,
the janitor came too.
I think this is why people love you, because you speak very intelligently, right?
Well, forgive me.
This was a fan of the show who was an artist, not a famous artist, but an artist, and he loved the show so much.
Right.
He painted a mural
Yeah.
of Jimmy and myself, which is in the back, but it's actually hanging on my wall. And Jimmy, when I die, I've willed it to you so you can have it.
Okay. All right. I can wait. That's
but
thank you.
He made this painting, and again, I think about it this way, man. I think
what about when Tony Atlas sat down and did the drawing and gave it to us? We didn't ask him to do that. All of a sudden, there's a sketching of Tony Atlas loves us. That was cool.
Right.
We didn't ask for that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, look, man. Here's the thing: if people enjoy your stuff and they entertain, and it's a good deal, and you make a little money towards it, it's great. And maybe one day, look, we wanted to be, on Sirius XM or something at that level, and that dream is not over for us, right? Because again, we've had some opportunities, maybe not as much as others, but when you start making dolls of yourself and start pawning them or selling them on the internet, I gotta say there's a major problem.
Yeah, it's a bit much, It's a bit much. It's like, really, bro? But we've seen a lot of that in this business, Look, people need to identify with something and feel like they're a part of something, and everybody's got their own line. If you ever catch me making a doll of myself to be sold, and I'm the one springboarding the idea, you better take me to a shrink because something really wrong happened to me.
Well, here's a real big thing, Jimmy. If you made this your career and this is how you're making your money, you're in trouble, man, because the WWE at this point is taking over everything. They're taking over terrestrial radio. They're taking over streaming radio. You're not going to compete, Jimmy, with The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Stephanie McMahon, et cetera, right?
No. And now even on YouTube, it's being proven. You didn't have to be a main event draw. You can do quite well.
Well, it's funny. Our friends James Romero had a video out. I wanted to ask you about this. Why do you think the mid-level wrestler actually does better or just as good as the high-level wrestler?
Because there's a sympathy thing going on very much with certain a certain mindset in today's internet world. You know that they're out there, the sympathizers with this thing or that thing. I think that they're like, well, they never got their chance when they probably deserved one, and they're getting their words out and their freedom of speech out now. You go, girl, boy. You got me?
I got you. Then you're
That's what
right.
I think. That's what I think. Like for example, now Perry Saturn is taking off on YouTube. I'm like,
Dude, this, like, okay,
okay,
I'm sorry to say this.
yeah,
A couple of years ago, Perry Saturn was strung out on a street, hooked to heroin, right?
okay,
Looked like
okay,
he lost every bit of muscle he ever had in his body. He does a show, and like you said, all of a sudden,
right.
he's getting 100,000 views.
Hey, good for him, but it's reflecting and hammering home what I'm trying to tell you about the sympathizing kind of thing. Like, oh, well, he never got his shot, and I guess this is the only way, too, to be fair to them, is that you'll ever hear their stories because they're not going to get called into WWE for a special or an interview. ESPN's not going to talk to them. So this is their chance to get their stories out. If they're succeeding at it, I say good for them. But at the same time, I am surprised sometimes that some of them take off the way they do.
Mm.
But I guess that's just the way things are nowadays.
Well,
It's a
dude,
crapshoot.
we've been doing this over 8 years, right? And there's
Right.
something called sustainability, right?
Right.
You could be
Well,
the new hot subject. And
this is
look,
true.
again, I'm not attacking Romero at all, but I'm
Right.
going to tell you. So Mikey Whipwreck was going to be on the show, and I don't know much about ECW wrestling, right? I was actually deferring to you pretty much for the whole
Yeah.
interview, which will take place in the next couple of weeks anyway. But anyway,
Correct.
I
Yep.
put on, Mikey Whipwreck, and who had it was James Romero. James Romero had 3,000 views on that video at that time, right? James Romero finds Dutch Mantel, good
Right.
move, becomes very popular, but
Yeah.
you'll see the sustainability won't last forever, right? It just doesn't.
No.
It gets old, just like any television show. It just gets old.
Right. And it's interesting with YouTube because, like, picture of, like, all right, I'll use Hannibal as an example. Let's just say, like, picture a sitcom, any sitcom that was successful, right? They're successful for a while, but if they stay on the air for another 15 years, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So basically, Hannibal was first to the race, as we've covered in the past, did extremely well. And now the reality is he's really no bigger or better than anybody else because time has done what it does,
Yeah.
right?
And I would say this too. What television shows had a longer lifespan? I'll name them. MASH,
Yes.
Sopranos, right?
Yes.
Why were those shows so popular? Because they were ever evolving. The stories were always evolving. It wasn't the
Mhm.
same routine over. Listen, at some point, how many times is someone going to watch a Jacques Rougeau interview?
Right. Right. Well, some TV shows stay on too long. I'm sure we could think of a few of those. So, the infamous ones like the Brady Bunch. Here comes Oliver. I think we should have ended it the season before.
That's a great point. And then on the other end too, as these wrestlers pass away, right? These
Yeah.
older wrestlers, these new guys
Yeah.
don't have any stories. What kind of stories do they have? There's
Yeah.
nothing going on, and you're not going to
Right.
get them anyway because they're all signed for deals with the WWE. So
Right.
if you don't have anything to entertain yourself with, I don't know what to say. But
So do you think that there'll ever come a day where, like, a Kevin Owens, a Sami Zayn, a Chris Jericho, these guys are all available like the way we've had the old timers available to us?
no, never.
That's
It'll never happen.
That's a problem because that ends what we were able to do with our library. That ends future libraries. That sucks.
Listen, when we started,
That
right,
sucks.
we had to pay a lot of wrestlers in the beginning, just like every show,
Sure.
right? James Romero,
Absolutely.
everybody paid, right?
Yeah.
Chris Jericho's a millionaire. What is $500 going to do, Chris Jericho?
Right.
Right? What does he give a shit? What you think $500, $1,000 would help out
No. It's
Kevin
totally
Owens? What does Kevin
No.
Owens need that money for?
Right. Sami
I mean,
Zayn doesn't need it either. You're right.
that's what I'm saying. It's funny money. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Fortunately for us, like guys like Ron Van Dam, a couple $100 is a couple $100 to him.
Right.
Not that
Right.
he's broke, but it's a couple hundred
No.
bucks, right?
No, and Rob Van Dam also likes doing this stuff. But Rob Van Dam is a real kind of guy. He's not a corporate guy. There should be no surprise that RVD is out there and hanging with regular everyday folks too. Not surprised at all.
All right. Well, before we bring Phil in, I wanted to get your way in the passing of the
Oh.
great Dolly Parton.
We got a trifecta, so I'll try to see if we can talk about the other two as well, because it always seems to come in threes. But
Yeah, please.
Dolly Parton, man. It's funny being Yankees like we are. We're Yankees up here. Here's how important Dolly Parton was. I'll just explain it the way I saw it today. I was on the phone with you. I had to make a pharmacy run, some food shopping. I come back. You know the electronic billboards that are on the LIE that tell you buckle up, it's the law?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what it said tonight? And it blew my mind. I'm in New York. I'm driving on the LIE thing, and it said Jolene, Jolene, Jolene.
Mm.
What does that tell you?
Wow.
It hits pretty deeply, even though I am obviously not a country music fan, and I obviously didn't have any Dolly Parton albums. Look, Dolly Parton was a major part of growing up, right? She was a huge star. The thing I loved about her the most was her personality, because she was a really good person. They always try to reel her in on politics and religion and stuff, and she would politely explain, "I'm not here for that. I have my opinions, I have my beliefs, but I keep those to myself." She came from a good family, and she was just a good lady. A very, very talented musician too. I remember one time on Johnny Carson, she just grabbed the acoustic guitar from behind the chair and just started singing and playing like a Roy Clark. Well, not like Roy Clark, come on. But that ability to just grab a guitar, sing, and sound absolutely beautiful, you could put it on an album right then and there. That's how good she was as a musician.
Love it. Love it.
So, and then, of course, we have the other two. We've got Mikey, as you know, Frank Beard from ZZ Top. It's weird. In his case, he's almost like the Ringo Starr of his type of music, because nobody ever talks about the drummer, but there he is laying the concrete. And unlike a lot of drummers, he has if you start playing the beat to "Give Me All Your Lovin'," which starts the song, by the way. Frank Beard starts that song. You know what song it is before the music even comes in, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's Ringo right there for you. He played to the song. I always got a kick out of his last name, obviously, the one guy without a beard, which was kind of. How does that just naturally fit so well, Mike? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That fits
yeah.
so well. What's in a name? Everything. And then of course the third one, Tim Curry.
Yeah, Tim Curry's a big one. He kind of was under the not under the radar, but
Dude.
like my wife said Tim Curry died, and I'm like, who the fuck's Tim Curry? But then she sends the picture, and I'm like, holy shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
he's one of the guys you didn't know the name of.
Oh, actually, I always did, because of two films. And my thing with horror, the Rocky Horror Picture Show and It.
Mm.
Do you realize how many millions of kids for generations afterwards that he gave nightmares to, portraying?
Dude, I to this day I don't watch those It movies. They're too fucking freaky.
Well, there you go. And of course the Rocky Horror Picture Show. We know what kind of cult status that has in America.
Now that you brought it up, I gotta say to you, Stephen King is almost like Bob Backlund to me now. Like, I hated everything about Stephen King growing up. I hated his books, hated his movies. And now that I've gotten older, I'm like, you know what? This guy could write some shit. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the truth. I mean, to me, my truth. The two most important horror novelists in the last 200 years is Edgar Allan Poe and Stephen King.
Mm.
Stephen King is that brilliant. If you look at his library, it will make your head spin. How many movies were turned into his, from his books, and how many great books were never even made movies. He's got dozens. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you, anybody out there, I recommend The Long Walk. It's on HBO Max or HBO. It's a friggin' good movie. But Jimmy, you'd love it. It's after the war, and in order to become rich, you go on these long walks, and the last one that finishes the walk gets the money. Everybody else gets killed. It's a pretty crazy movie.
what's your memories of ZZ Top? After all, you and I grew up with the MTV.
You know what? Of course, ZZ Top, legendary band. Was not a fan, Jimmy. Honestly, didn't
Okay.
really like their music.
Oh, okay.
Again,
sunglasses. What are we wearing?
yeah, no. Some of the songs I like, but again,
Right.
if Sharp Jeff Dressed Man comes on again, I'm
I
not
know.
like I'm turning it off. You know what I'm
But you're
saying?
not turning off Susudio? Come on, Mike.
Dude, I love Susudio. I'm sorry.
Susudio is crap compared to.
But I
ZZ Top.
understand, but Susudio makes me want to dance in my car. You know what I'm saying?
I do not want to see you dancing in your car. You're usually leaning on the horn.
I don't blame you.
Stupid piece of shit! Like, this is a conversation with Mike, by the way. Like, we're talking about something. Man, you fucking idiot! Nobody knows that. Oh, here comes another guy cutting in front of me. Oh, might
I
as well
know,
make
Jim.
two of you.
I hate when I do that to you. I hate when I do that to everybody.
Oh,
I'm
it's
just like,
hilarious.
I can't control myself.
Yeah. Bart, one time, I had butt dialed him and I was yelling at somebody in front of me. He put Sinners Never Sacrifice behind my rant. He like made a tape. It's the most
that's
amazing
funny
thing
as
ever.
shit.
And the guy
That
had
is
a Met
great.
plate, so I'm like yelling, fucking Met fan. Oh, it was unbelievable.
All right, man. We're gonna bring in Phil now. Before we hit our top 10 most influential. Phil, how are you, buddy?
Hey, good evening, guys. We're just islands in the stream around here. How you guys doing?
All right, man. I'm gonna pull this banner down. I'm gonna try. See what I can do here. How's that?
There we go.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Let's see if I can switch you guys though. Hold on. Look at that! Oh,
All right, I'm Alice in the middle now.
now
Nice.
Alice in the middle. So Phil, Jimmy brought up earlier, a friend of yours passed away. Can you tell us a little bit about it? It seemed like a very, very interesting story and a very interesting picture.
Yeah, a great guy. I've known him for 2 decades. Steve, he's was a veteran, certainly. And as I described him, probably the most alpha dude I've ever met. And, we've all been in the gym and we've all met these sorts of people. But this guy, just something special, the kind of guy you want in a dark alley, the kind of guy you want during an apocalypse, the kind of guy obviously you'd want during war and during any tough times. And kind of a larger than life character, helicopter pilot, grizzly bear hunter and killer, just everything. And then, despite all that, we're all mortal, and we all feel pain, and we all miss him right now. So thank you for giving me the chance to say that. The funeral is tomorrow, right after I get off the show, and we'll be laying him to rest. And a big surprise, let's just say, a very big surprise. But I think the lesson here is always check in with people. Okay, no matter how strong they seem, check in, and don't take anything for granted as far as, the people in your life. And, we were blessed to know him for a long, long time. And, when I say he was like a real life action star in many ways, I mean, he really was, just a 300-pound, hulk of a dude. And, but with just the most sensitive too. So, just another one on the other side now. And, we're getting to that point in life, guys. I think we all know that we're knowing as many people on, the other side as we are on this side right now. And, you want the numbers to be skewed a little better towards this side,
It's funny you bring that up, Phil, because it's like, look, me and Jimmy talk about this all the time, right? Try to do the best we can for ourselves, right? Try to, to the best of our ability, try to keep yourself in shape or whatever else. But, it's funny when you're in your 30s and someone would die, you found out they died. The first thing you'd say is like, what did they die of? Right. Like, you had to figure out. Now it's like just this for me anyway, I'm just speaking for myself. It's this overall feeling of sadness.
Yeah. It is that. Yeah. The questions are always secondary now. And, we're just losing so many people these days. It's a tough world right now, I would say. And I've always said we're under assault, guys. Whether it's our food, whether it's our air, everything else, man. You got to do your best to take care of yourself because no one else is going to do it. You don't rely on the government. That's for sure.
That's for damn sure. All right, I want to.
But it's great to be here anyway.
It's great. It's great to have you, man.
God love you guys. It's an honor. So and happy to see everyone out there. in the chat.
It's funny, Mike, as he's talking about this. I'm thinking about the kids in our neighborhood, and I could within a 2-block radius, the 4 of them are gone already. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's yeah.
I mean, it's
I've grown numb. It's terrible, but I've grown numb. I think the ultimate kick in the balls was last year with Ozzy and Hogan back to back.
Mm.
That was like, okay, like for me, that was like, all right, how much higher are we going to go here? We will Paul McCartney on deck. You know what I mean? Like, you know, in general.
Can I say something without sounding completely nerdy?
Yeah.
But I haven't recovered from Hogan passing away. So
No.
I
it
hear you.
still
I don't believe
bothers
it.
me.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Listen, I still don't accept that John Lennon is dead. What year is this?
Yeah.
You know, I went to the park and buried a picture of John at Burley Park that night. My father and I wept. It's not going to change. It's always going to be there. Every time I put him on, he's in the room. Musicians have that capability, though.
Well, let me ask you guys. Phil first is what death of a celebrity was your worst?
Oof.
Wow.
Oh.
That's a great question.
Break out
boy.
the Rolodex, Phil there. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, wrestling, I would, you know, if it were wrestling, it would be Owen Hart, certainly. Yeah. But Hogan's up there. Hogan's up there. His whole career's been about immortality, and he's looked so good for so long. And I almost believe it was like, obviously an accident, but it wasn't meant to be. I feel like he was not supposed to leave us this soon. You know, there's just so much left for him. Mm-hmm. So that hit hard, Mike, and I can understand that, and I can understand why you feel that way, because he was, you know, he was it when we were kids. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun, Mike. When you saw him, you know, in hindsight now, of course, he only had a couple of years to live, but I got zero read that he was going to go soon. And I'm usually good with this stuff, unfortunately, as you know, Mike.
Yeah, sure.
So I got zero read that Hogan would. We went to go see him because we understood he's in his early 70s. We should go see him. But I didn't get a vibe when I saw him, like, you know, he's gonna go soon. Didn't have that vibe at all.
Did you hear that voice resonate through you? Some people who've met him have said that, you know, even big grown men, when they hear that voice resonate through them, it just kind of does something, you know?
You know, that's funny that you say that, because you're taking me back to the moment where I shook his hand and I said what I said to him. I felt that he's like the Beatles to professional wrestling, the way he shot the whole business into another stratosphere. And he talked back to me, and when he did, I'm realizing now my chest was actually vibrating, Mike.
Yeah.
So I guess he did say exactly what, you know, resonate. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Like an electrical discharge from one soul to another as they're conversing.
Yeah.
I said this before though, when me and Jimmy were there, right? We're thinking to ourselves, like, I hope this guy's not a dick. Like, it's finally arrived. I hope this guy's not an asshole. And he was late. He was late. So he must have, you know, he just was really late. We were there super early. Yeah. But I got to tell you, he didn't let me down that day.
Yeah. As much as I am happy to hear that both you guys met him, I'm happy that he met both you guys. You know, it's that kind of exchange. You know.
Before we get into the top 10, and Phil, we're going to use your list, which you so glowingly gave us, which is fantastic list. Maybe we'll go back and forth in some disagreements here, but it's a very tight list. I don't want to pass the opportunity to also say we lost Debbie Storm Clark a couple of days ago. Debbie, actually, her last interview, unfortunately, was on Monte and the Pharaoh. I had the opportunity to become friendly with Debbie. Very nice lady, open book. Shocked that she passed away.
Too young.
Someone so athletically elite too, which she obviously was, is still a shock too, you know. And again, still really, really young, you know, and she looked, you know, I'm sure she kept herself in pretty good shape.
You know, the one thing I got to say, guys, and you look, Phil, you've been around it. You've had the curtain peeled back. Jimmy has had the curtain peeled back. I've had the curtain peeled back.
Bed sheets too.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I'm thinking to myself, like, very funny, Jimmy.
Hey,
I don't
I'm glad you caught that.
I did. I just was trying not to like laugh about it, but that's pretty funny shit.
Oh no, it was intended. You can laugh. Go
Okay.
ahead.
But I gotta tell you, man, at some points I'm like, God damn, these people fucking crazy, man.
Yeah. Oh, I always knew I was nuts. Now I know that there's worse than me. Wow.
It's comforting,
Yeah.
isn't it? And distressing.
Wow.
Phil, in your time meeting like these wrestlers behind the curtain, were you always like, oh, they're still my heroes? Or are you like, yeah, they're a little bit crazy?
You know, you hear the stories, the plane ride from hell, the flight from hell. You hear all these things that went on back in the 80s that some of our favorites are involved in. And you know what? You realize they're no better than us. And in many cases, they're a little worse than us, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, like you said earlier, too, these guys and gals today are not going to have any fun stories to tell at all. I just,
I know. It's it's going to be like, oh yeah, me and Roman, we went to the deli and had a healthy salad, and we went home and worked out.
And took a nap.
Good interview. Oh, that's fantastic.
We took a nap. Yeah. Took a nap.
All right, I'm going to bring up one of Jimmy's favorite people, Sam Roberts. All right. I'm going to play a video for you guys if you don't mind. I played it for Rip Rogers on the last show, but I really want to hear you guys weigh in on this one. It seems like our friend Sam has a sister-in-law that's homeless, and she likes to post stuff. So let's listen and let's talk.
I just think it's kind of funny the way nobody's brought it up to my brother-in-law, and like he continues to sweep it under the rug that I exist, and like nobody finds this to be like disgusting. Like they're like, oh yeah, like you're really saving the big bucks by letting your sister-in-law sleep on a park bench. Pinkies out, babe. Like, is that what's upper echelon, is to let your family members sleep outside in the fucking rain, dude?
What do you guys think of that one?
Hey, Mike, I got to ask you, did Sharon dye her hair? Sorry, Phil. That's an inside joke.
It's an inside joke, but
a very inside joke. I got it.
Somebody you know quite well, huh?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: does Sam Roberts owe his sister-in-law at least a couch to sleep on?
I don't know.
Go ahead, Phil. It's all yours.
Pharaoh laying it right out there for Phil. Here you go, Phil.
Go ahead, Phil.
It's on you, buddy.
What do you
Moral
think, big guy?
questions. My goodness, does he owe her a couch?
Hey, Phil, do you let your relative sleep on a park bench if you can help her out? You're working for
I take anyone in, Jimmy. You know that.
No, I don't. I haven't knocked at your door yet. Don't you start.
You're welcome anytime. You're welcome anytime.
Phil,
I'll even come down and grab.
I'm
We're
here.
turning you into a Red Sox
Salisbury
fan,
State
man.
TV dinners. That's the big question.
You have to go to the Red Sox with me, though. That's the catch.
Oh, no.
That's you can't do it. Sleep
No.
on the
That's
park
the
bench.
catch. But no, in this case, you don't know what you're dealing with here, guys. You don't know the family dynamic. You don't know what this woman is all about. You know, you don't know if she doesn't need some kind of help. You know, of the mental variety. You know,
That's what the inside joke was about. We have no idea what this chick is like. None.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mike, it could be one of those, like, we've covered in the past, when you've got a friend who's so fucked up, you just go, what the fuck? Whether it's a relative or a friend, it's still a person who's driving you nuts. We don't know.
The thing I find amazing, is like, I'm sorry, I think to myself, first of all, just go get a fucking job, right? But number two, let's put that to the side. You have no money, you're sleeping on a park bench, but you got to make sure you still have your phone. Got to make sure you have your TikTok account going,
true.
right? Got to make sure that's going on. Doesn't matter that you're sleeping on a fucking park bench.
Got to get the dopamine.
Leave it to Mike to point out the obvious. That is true. Who's paying for your phone bill, lady?
Yeah. And again, you've got this lady's got a certain set of tools. There's always a taker. You know what I'm saying? The rent can be paid. The rent can be paid. Is all
gas, grass, or ass. No one writes for free, right?
That's it. That's right, Phil.
Now, if she had come on and said, I'm just angry at the world. My no talent brother is getting ridiculous paychecks to suck balls. I suck balls. I can't get a dime. I would have respected that a little bit more.
I got it. All right. So, Jimmy,
Yeah.
you're clear what you think of Sam Roberts. Phil, do you think Sam Roberts has talent? Do you like listening to Sam Roberts?
Oh, Phil, you better not play
I've
Switzerland on
never felt compelled. I might have. You know what? I've seen him live more than I've seen him on screen or listened to him. He's
Right.
been at a few fan fests, and back when he had that Simon and Garfunkel, I think he had the Garfunkel do back then, didn't he? Didn't he have that? Yeah. No, I don't find anything compelling. Again, here's my thing, guys. How old was he in the 80s? How old was he in the late 70s? What did he see in real time? Okay. We've got the perspective. We've got it. Everything we've seen has been in context with the times too, the times
Right.
that we saw it. So,
Well, shouldn't an announcer have some it factor though too? There's got to be some, you gotta have some
gravitas.
it factor. Otherwise, what are you listening to? Who are you? Not that he's not good at his job, because he is. Mike, are you familiar with Kevin Kelly, who did Ring of Honor? Do you know who Kevin Kelly is?
Yes.
He's fine at what he does, but I feel like he's very bland. He's like the bland JR approach, if you will. There's like a.
Oh, by the way,
factor
Kevin Kelly's coming on in a couple of weeks.
You're a dick.
I'm serious.
That's a shame. Now I'm fucked. Now
Remember
I'm
the
cornered.
Rock
Now I
Ball-
got to be like the great Kevin Kelly, ladies and gentlemen.
It's kind of like me with the great Vince Russo. I'm like, okay, look, I guess I'm not going to attack this guy. All right, go ahead. Phil, what are you saying?
All right. Hey, Kevin Kelly's good at what he does, but he doesn't draw me in.
Right.
Mike
The
Tenay
Rock
was
used
like
to call
that
him
to me.
Hermie. Hermie was short for hermaphrodite, and so he went through a little spell. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
But The Rock used to love to insult him by that very
Right.
word.
Right.
I don't think you can say that now. I don't know if it's even PC to say that now.
I mean, honestly, Kevin Kelly got a hell of a lot more out of his career than I thought he would, becoming Ring of Honor play-by-play,
Good
to
for
be very
him.
honest.
Good
So
for
there was
him.
that.
With Sam Roberts, for me, I don't like. Okay, so there's two ways I like it. Right? It's either talk about wrestling like it's what it is. It's a scripted movie, and you talk about it, and you talk about the behind the scenes stuff, and maybe some of your memories of how much you loved it. Or if you're going to talk about like it's real, but there's a point where people talk about like it's too real that it just gets like, I don't know, inside me as a 59-year-old man, I get annoyed. It's like, just stop it. Just stop. It's not real. It's not real. I mean, if you're going to talk about wrestling like me and Jimmy did a couple of weeks ago, it's like, is a guy marketable? Is this guy, is this guy, can he do it like this guy could? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And that's what Roberts does. He does it like it's real, and he goes into the script and he tries to, give you the underbelly on how the script was written and what their thought process is. I'm like,
we don't want to. We don't want to know any of that, do we? I don't.
No.
Has wrestling gotten to the point where, look, it was always necessary to sell that the realism of it. It still was, even years after kayfabe was gone. Realism has to be a part of the equation. Have we gotten to the point that it's such a circus prop nowadays that it's no longer important to have someone effectively, unlike Sam Roberts, effectively sell the realism of pro wrestling, guys?
It's the cooperation factor between these athletes in the ring when they're obviously working with each other, and I mean, doing impossible things, and like I say, not selling anything. Where's the emotional value there? It's it hasn't been watchable really for a while. There are exceptions. There are good exceptions out there, certainly, but
Mike, to be more direct, do you think that there's an announcer that could pull off still making you feel like this could be real, like the magic you used to feel? Is there anything like that that could still exist?
Here lies a problem for a lot of people who are the family of the show and the three people right here talking. Number one, when you're older, no matter what the sport is, it's not the same. You could love the Red Sox like you did as a kid, but it's not the same. So when we look at this, we look at it through an older person's eyes. So let's get back to the core value of it. There's no true bad guy anymore. There's no true good guy. Everybody's a Stone Cold Steve Austin now, right?
Yeah. Cool
and it's like there's we spoke about this when me and Jimmy loved the heels against Bob Backlund. That's all we rooted for.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Yeah.
But the minute Hogan came, I didn't care about Morocco anymore. I didn't care about anybody. Hogan was the guy, and I wanted to see Hogan destroy everybody. And listen, you're talking to a guy that was supposed to go on a date at 11 o'clock at night. Saturday night's main event is on, and Morocco holds Hogan down, and Bundy breaks his ribs, and I can't even concentrate. So, I'm going out to get laid. I couldn't even get laid. I was just like, I can't. Hogan's ribs. Like, this is what I'm talking about. There's no wrestler out there that's going to draw emotion out of you like that. And,
Right.
Even, maybe if you're a very, very young kid, yes, to be fair to wrestling fans, if you're 10 years old, 12 years old, yeah, you may love someone that much. But, the 30-year-old, if you're that into it, there's something fucking wrong with you. I'm sorry. You're fucking whack. You're whack.
And that calls upon, we've seen these videos, these reaction videos of, remember, of course, the classic guy crying when CM Punk came back.
My God. Yeah.
He wasn't 12 years old,
Yeah.
Again, what is wrong with a person that I'm going to watch you watch this? What is going on? Yeah, I
don't know. But look, they've been raised on machines. Well, I've said it 1,000 times. Star Trek in the late 60s warned about this over and over and over again. If you lose your way through machines, it's not a good ending. We made them. We got to remember who we are. We are not remembering. We are allowing the machine to dictate how we are now being formed in our minds, starting very young. That's a mistake. That's such a bad mistake. But you know something? As usual, the human race is going to have to learn, completely fuck up beyond belief, and then try to restart, because that's what we've done for thousands of years. It's just a fact. It does repeat itself.
Yeah. And, in school, the kids they are not doing cursive handwriting anymore. Okay. There's something special that happens when a kid or an adult or anybody takes a pen or pencil in hand and writes. You activate certain parts of your brain that are responsible for critical thinking. Okay.
Right.
Different than when you're typing and key striking. Okay. You don't get that connection and that critical thinking. So, there's just so much that they're losing out on now.
A simple toy like the toy we had when we were kids, Etch-a-Sketch, encouraging you to create on your own. That doesn't. Now you just ask a computer, hey, write me a song. Hey, I'm a composer now. No, you're not. You had a machine do something for you. Sure, you might have given it an idea or a premise, but you're not sitting down and really putting your words to paper. You're not creating it. It's creating your idea for you. No.
And I agree. We are giving up our
But
humanity.
I will say this, though, because Mike does love AI, and I love aspects of AI. In the proper hands, AI is an amazing invention. What I'm afraid of is what will eventually happen. A visual equalization to War of the Worlds, where someone's going to put out a video, everyone's going to truly think it's real, and we're going to have ourselves some riots.
Well, I'm going to go a step further with you, Jimmy, on that. I think there'll come a point where it's like Running Man, and if they want to put you in jail, they'll have that video, and you won't be able to tell the difference. And as
not a damn thing
juror, you're just going to be like, yeah, I guess there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And here's the other thing that's a problem. And I'm talking about my job, right? So as in my actual real life job, right, I incorporated AI into the processes within our production plant, right? And the thing is, at some point, we're going to get so hooked on AI that they're going to make you start paying for it. And you're not going to be able to survive without it. Even the three of us sitting here, can you imagine surviving without a cell phone at this point in your life?
It's interesting you said that. I put that to the test recently. I turned my phone off, and I purposely got myself lost driving. Purposely. And I said, okay, how do I get out of this? I got home in 25 minutes or so. Because I drove to California back in the day with a map and gas station advice. So I do, from time to time, resharpen my tools.
Love it.
Tool,
So. All right, guys, before we get into this, I'm going to play another video.
Greg the Hammer.
I want you guys to weigh in Greg the Hammer Valentine, who we had a couple of shows ago where Kenny Casanova wrote a book on the life of Greg Valentine, and from what's understood is Greg feels that this was not a authorized copy. So let's see what he had to say.
Hey, this is Greg the Hammer Valentine. These jabronis are trying to play the victim. I never consented to this book. I never approved of this book. I don't even have a copy of this.
This is Brutus the Barber Beefcake. While Julie and Greg are figuring out if their book is authorized or not, I want everyone to know my book, written by ghostwriter Kenny Casanova, is available on my website. Hold up book. BrutusBeefcake.com.
Now, let me ask you something. When you guys were 15 years old, the Hammer Valentine was in steel cage matches with Tito Santana, and Brutus Beefcake was strutting around the ring. Did you ever think it would come to a point where Greg Valentine is saying his book is unauthorized because his wife got pissed off, and Brutus Beefcake is having Missy Beefcake direct him in a TikTok side skit? I mean, where do we go from here?
It's better than what we see on TV now, isn't it? Doesn't it make sense that these guys are now the stars of their own productions? I think that's great. It really is. It's like the old Memphis stuff. Nothing sells like real life, Nothing gets over like real life, real problems. And my God, they were made. I mean, you could have a soap opera with these guys. It's wonderful.
Jimmy, what are you thinking? Your hero, the Hammer.
You had me address this the other week, so I'm going to just keep it short and sweet. He broke Wahoo's leg, so I like him already. He was always my hero as far as wrestling, and he's still on my wall. I thought it was hilarious how that those three slobs came on and all talked about Greg. I have a text. Well, I thought contracts were supposed to mean something is done. I got a text that says, I don't want to knock him. I'm not knocking him. Oh, me neither. But we'll talk bad about him for an hour. Okay. I just stand by what I said a couple of weeks ago. He's always going to be a hero to mine. I'm cool with him now. We're good, and fuck him. Who cares? I don't care. Was there a contract signed, Mike?
I doubt it.
And
again, I left a message for Greg. I said, please do not take a penny from this guy, because the minute you take a penny, then that book has officially become authorized.
Right.
So, if you're going to do something about it, do something about it, right?
Right.
Good advice.
Right. That's
all right, last video before we get to our list that we could all debate on. Here we go.
My willingness, any advice I can give you would be great. Well, you know what, John? I think you might be talking about my willingness to give up some money with WWE to stand up for things I believed in. And I would just say, don't be afraid to make a stand. That my feeling is 20 years from now, I don't want my grandchildren hearing I didn't do the right thing because I was worried about my merch sales. So not that merch sales aren't important, and I understand people can't make the decisions I did when they are younger and need that company on their side and can't afford to make waves. But I could, so I did. I'm glad you appreciated me for that. And so I just hope you stay true to your values.
Who wants to open up with that one?
I really don't. What he sounded pretty straightforward about that. He made his money when he could. He obviously has enough money now that he doesn't have to do stuff unless he chooses to. And the price that he paid, he's hobbled for the rest of his existence. Whatever.
So I'm going to ask you this, Jimmy. So the place that made you the millionaire, and millionaires can always make this decision, right? They've got the easiest way to make this decision. So, you're making the decision against the place that made you a millionaire. And look, did he have a part in making himself a millionaire? Absolutely. He threw himself off a cage. He did some good entertaining stuff. Right? Absolutely. But, again, this is another example of the left leading the world and giving their opinion. And before I go to you, Phil, I'll say this last thing. he spoke about his grandkids, and he doesn't want them to see that. Well, when you were shoving up, kendo sticks up women's twats in ECW and on the Indies, what about that? That was okay, or the shit you saw in WWE back in the day. But when you were making the money, you kept your mouth shut and put you put your head down, just like the rest of these motherfuckers. So it's like, I get it, I understand why you would put your head down, but now to stop preaching. This is my problem. Don't preach 40 years later, 20 years later when you're out of the mix. Just like Mancini, the rest of them. You would have impressed me if you would have did something then. You didn't do something then, and you were part of it then. Phil?
Yeah, I agree. Well, first, before we get into mixed politics, not that we're going to delve too far into it, I'm glad that he sounds at least relatively healthy, considering what he's been through. And I know I've heard stories about him too, the effects of the business on, Jimmy, you mentioned driving home and trying to get lost. Mick apparently had gotten lost a number of times just trying to drive home. So
right, and not on purpose.
Not on purpose. Right.
Right.
So Mick's a little shaken up, but I agree too. He made his bread and butter with the company. And again, we're talking about a Hall of Famer. We're talking, whatever you think of President Donald Trump, major factor in the development of the then WWF, and let's not forget that he basically let Vince hold several WrestleManias at his facilities, and major fan, I think, certainly in the New York market, and again, he's a Hall of Famer, and rightly so. So
I agree with Mike, though.
Is it virtuous?
I'm sorry, Phil. I agree with Mike, though. He is way too preachy. I don't have a particular problem with this particular video, but in general, he's way too preachy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And hey, he's from Long Island, and it's no wonder you guys are how you are coming from Long Island. It's I think of the home of Hillary Clinton and everything else. But I won't hold that against you guys.
Mike, do you think that with Vince gone, that Mick feels more comfortable now being able to be like, F WWE?
I think, Jimmy, I think when people are loaded, then they feel now there's their opportunity to play their true self. Look, Phil Brooks, CM Punk, he's the same way, right? He made a ton of money, saved his money, and he felt like he could speak for himself. And again, I'm not really like with Phil Brooks, right? Phil Brooks spoke on what he wanted to speak on. My only problem is, look, we've been doing this show a long time. We didn't hear just one story about Mick Foley. We've heard multiple stories about Mick Foley and his treatment of women. Okay, whether they're true or not, we don't know, right? Tell your friend, tell your father, tell your wrestler, right? Something, right? But that being said, when someone says something, there may be some validity there. And I would say this. I'll use this as my last statement, and then you guys can follow up. On the documentary with China, he sat there on that video saying, what a great girl she was, blah, blah. She should have never went back into wrestling or signing, coming off of, sobriety. But you know what? Where were you, dude? Where were you? You were nowhere. You're talking after the fact, just like you said the beginning, Phil. Check in on people.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. You shouldn't weigh in on somebody or weigh in on politics, or even when a fan writes a guy and he decides he's going to respond on X to it, but a guy's like, hey, you're my hero, give me some advice. You know what? Listen, the advice he should have gave him is, hey, man, what your lifestyle is like, just be true to yourself. Take care of yourself. And do what you have to do to take care of yourself. Because in the end, you only got one self.
And never listen to a one-eared man.
Thank you.
Just kidding. Sorry, Mick.
I'll tell you what, Mike, you couldn't be more right when you ask where were you, but the sad reality is it's not just Mick that we could ask that question to when it comes to China. Where were all of you? Because China thought that she was in a business. She felt she was part of the business. She was. She was in the inner circle. She had a relationship that ended, and then she was isolated. That is living hell. To be in an inner circle with anybody in the wrestling business, and then all of a sudden It's not there anymore, and everyone has chosen the safer side. That is a fucking bad place to be for China. So China, where were all of you? You know, and they all come on shows and they all say, "Oh, we could have done this, or we could have. I wish we could have, or I should have, or." And you're still taking the money for the interview. Where were you? So sorry, Mike, to hammer that home,
No,
but my God, where were any of you?
You're right, but I think I also have to like stick with what Rip Rogers said last week. He said,
Yeah.
"Look, you own your own life. You owe yourself."
Right.
And you made a good point. You're that famous. We just had Morocco on.
Well, then it's
You're
just
that
devil's
famous.
advocate.
Well,
Right.
you're that famous, and then all of a sudden you're hauling fucking freight on a fucking
Right.
ocean liner, right?
Right.
It's got to be a hard pill
You
to
better
swallow.
adapt.
But you have to adapt.
You
China
better.
didn't adapt.
No.
So it's China's issue. But you get a good point. Don't say shoulda, woulda, coulda. You just should have said, you know what? I was in my own life. I was too selfish.
Mike, even if one of them, it's a big circle back in China's time. There's plenty of people who are wrestling for the company. Even if one of them, because in the end, the friends that China thought she had, she lost. And the bigger problem, the friends she gained afterwards were no good for her. You would hope that just one of those people, whether it's Mick Foley, whoever it was that could have done something, would have pulled her aside and said, I got to take you away from these people. You can't do this to yourself. I see what you're doing here. Not everybody is super strong. And while I agree with Rip Rogers, you better adapt or shrivel, not everybody's strong enough. That's just the reality.
That's a really good point. And
we
you know
used to
what?
have things called psych wards. We closed them down, gave you a pill, and told you, here, don't you feel better? Well, what do the numbers tell you?
You know what? There's not enough DDPs either, Jimmy, right?
Oh, my God. Yeah. That's true, too. As long as he's not on our show, because no.
Yeah, please. I don't want to hear it. All right, Phil, the list. I'm going to name the wrestler at number 10. I'm going to ask you, Phil, you'll start these off. Tell us why you chose them at the number they're at. And then Jimmy and Jimmy will either say great pick or we think differently. Okay?
Right.
First up, the rowdy one at number 10, Roddy Piper. Why did you choose the Hot Rod?
Again, the consummate villain, okay? Born with the gift of gab and someone who made an impact in so many areas, whether it was out in LA, feuding with Chavo Guerrero. Obviously, Georgia Championship Wrestling was one of our first introductions to him before coming ultimately to the WWF. And Hogan wouldn't have been the same without Roddy Piper, okay? This whole rock and wrestling connection would not have happened if anyone else other than Roddy Piper was in place. You know, I believe anyway. Certainly some legendary matches. You talk about the dog collar match, which really set new, I think, standards in that type of those types of matches. And just again, the ultimate heel again, who just came in just in time for the Superstation, for national exposure, and then on to WWF and on to the ultimate heights. You're not going to find anyone better, I think, than Piper. You know, no world championships, but that doesn't matter. He's got several dolls too.
Jimmy, what do you think?
It's interesting that he's only at number 10, but I have to see what follows because I immediately thought to myself, and I had talked to Mike earlier, about this subject. I'm like, Roddy Piper better be on this list somewhere. Was my first thought. So whether he belongs higher or not will be determined by who else you reveal coming up.
Certainly.
Here's the thing about Roddy Piper, and I'm going to get back to Roddy Piper was not just only the Joker to Hogan's Batman, but more importantly, after all, this is called influence. Like, who are the most influential? Roddy Piper was the first villain to be able to, let's make no mistake, of all the gifts Roddy had, and he had plenty of them to be the all-around great wrestler he was, his greatest gift was his mouth, his promo ability. Okay? So he was the first villain, along with Hogan, because every Joker has to have a Batman, to take that promo skill level and translate it to the hatred that people had for him. Mike, of course, loved him. Mike loves bad guys. But without that irate heat that the viewer can get off an effective bad guy that Roddy set the template for, which was actually started by Superstar Graham, but he was more cool about it when he did his thing. So you've got Roddy, just an absolute asshole. And my God, he's so good at it. Yeah,
I mean, he's gotten such heat. He's been stabbed by fans
it's
before. It's
ridiculous what Roddy did, and without Roddy, and Roddy was almost like the first, if you think about it, loose cannon. Okay, he really was. Who was his biggest influences that we see today? Influence. Getting back to the key word in this countdown, CM Punk, MJF. My God, Roddy Piper, Ronda Rousey was wearing the jacket when she was breaking barriers, doing the MMA into the. Come on, this guy.
Ryan
Not to
Coleman.
mention the fact that he was in They Live. He also
Love
transcended
it.
that thing.
Yep.
Roddy Piper definitely deserves to be on this list. Absolutely. I just don't know if he deserves to be higher. We'll find out.
It's great points, guys. I'll say this. Being a WWE guy, Phil had brought up Georgia Championship Wrestling. When Piper came to the WWE, we knew who he was from Georgia Championship Wrestling. You know, when Paul Orndorff came, we knew. You know what I'm saying? And we were excited. And, you know, again, you're right. Hogan's not the same. Hogan needed Piper.
And Mike, look at all the talk shows that followed after Piper's Pit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Come on.
Listen, there was a couple of things in the WWE I looked forward to every Saturday. One was the Superfly coming off the top rope. How ridiculous is that? Didn't matter what that entire match was like. All you wanted to see was the Superfly.
Right.
And all you wanted to see was Piper's Pit because you knew it was. And, man, let me tell you something. Forget about the Snooker Coconut incident. Forget about Frankie Williams. Forget about David Sammartino. The whole Cyndi Lauper gimmick when she was supposed to come on and didn't show up for 2 weeks, and you're like, oh my God, this is all bullshit. And then she finally shows up, and then the whole thing without. But dude, come on, this is what people love to watch. This was wrestling, man. This
was a maestro. Yes.
All right, Phil. At number 9, you're giving the nod to the great Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Explain.
Another transcendent talent who opened the door. You know, we think, and you know, you could have inserted Tiger Mask or someone like that in there, but Ray is so small. I mean, you know, much smaller than Tiger Mask, Sayama, or anyone else who's played him. But he opened the door. Many of us first saw him in the AAA pay-per-view that they ran in, I think, '94, and so we got a taste of what he had and what he could do. And then, of course, ECW. He brought all the luchadors in, and basically he was the head of the luchadors. He was the king of the luchadors, really. And to take it to the WWE and to take it to the main stage and to win the title and to do something just you know, a guy who's 5'4" and 160 pounds. You know, I mean, you know, that might be par for the course today, but back then it wasn't. So he did a lot of things, I think, for the style, for the smaller performers, and just amazing. Has a lot of credibility with his colleagues, and you know, and again, he's a masked wrestler too, which is some of it. You know, I mean, we could have gone no maskers. We could have said El Santo and everything like that, but I think Ray is very special, very special.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't deny him a spot because of his. Look, listen, outside of the United States, at least traditionally, we've always known that the other true hotbeds are Japan and Mexico. And Rey Mysterio is clearly the greatest Mexican wrestler, obviously, to come out of there at the end of the day. So he has to get a spot, I would think, on this list. However, it's strange with me because when you say influence, I think to myself, is Ray more of a trendsetter than an influence?
Yeah.
Or is he a true influence? Because when I think of influence, I think of it, I'm going way back, I think of Antonio Rocca, who was wrestling the way nobody was doing it then. This is way back where he's doing aerial things that nobody was like, what the fudge? You know? Mascaras before Ray. I don't know if you'd agree with me, Mike, but I think that Mil Mascaras and Santo were clearly like the Sammartinos before Ray rewrote the book.
Yeah. And again, the size factor too, opening the door for, I mean, really, you know, whether we like it or not, I mean, we know it, we love it. It's a big man's game, but he certainly did help a lot of people.
The old school fan in me wants to say, because you know, when I think of Mexico, I think of Mil Mascaras, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But you know what?
He is,
when you talk it out like this, you go, yeah, he's got to be on the list.
Yeah.
He was a major influence on professional wrestling. He may not have been the GOAT, not the GOAT, the OG or the originator, but he
Right.
was the guy. And yeah, it's a great pick. And I like both
You
your
know, but
explanations.
Phil, doesn't that open up a can of worms though too? I mean, I can hear people screaming about Jushin Liger. I mean, I can
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah. Well, I
I
think
probably
there.
mispronounced that.
No, Jushin Liger. No, indeed.
Yeah.
He opened Monday Nitro with Brian Pillman back in the day. That was the first
Right.
match ever, which is
Well,
pretty.
plus what he was doing in Japan, he was
Yeah.
writing the book over there before Mysterio was doing stuff.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
I also think that his career being cut short was a factor maybe in
Right.
that too, the neck
Right.
break and everything else.
Well, you know what?
too.
Regardless, it's a good debate, but Mysterio
Yeah.
is still the top name here, so I would have to
Yeah.
agree with you one way or the other there, Mike.
And
All
I
right.
dare say he's sold a lot of merch as well. I would
Oh,
suggest,
God.
you know.
Well, that's what it's
Okay.
all about, the merch, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 8, the great Andre the Giant. Phil, why Andre at number 8?
You know, I could have ranked him higher, and I actually thought of that originally. I mean, if it were a list of favorites of mine, he probably would be at the very top. But again, his rise to fame was in the 70s, okay? And as we all know, having lived and grown up in the 70s, took a lot more to get your name out there, okay? So, and being a crossover kind of star, Andre, even back then, from the Tonight Show to the $6 Million Man to the BJ and the Bear, Greatest American Hero, all these shows, Princess Bride, just transcended everything. And again, some obviously talk about airport tests, you know. He certainly did, you know, certainly passed that. But again, the draw that he was, and just he should probably be ranked higher. And the only reason I didn't is because you can make such compelling arguments for the people who are ahead of him on the list. But as far as
How long was his actual wrestling career
in the States,
as a higher performer, not the
Pretty
later
long.
years?
yeah, so I'm going to say from 72-ish maybe to, whenever his last run with Haku, maybe 87 or 88 or 90.
I don't count those, right? Right after the Warrior, right?
Yeah.
And Savage, I say that was it, right? After WrestleMania
He gave
4.
He
That
gave
was
you
it.
about 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
So that's a long career then.
He
That's
had
a long career.
He had a long career. You know what, Phil? I struggle with this one because, again, influential or most important. Andre, to me, falls into more important. I'm not going to disagree that he's on this list, though, by the way. So let me get that out of the
Right.
way. But important. Here's the problem. When I think of influence, I think of what wrestlers came afterwards that patterned themselves. Here's the thing about Andre. We never saw anyone like him before him. And we've never seen anyone like him, truly like him, since him. So that's where I go influential. Okay, how important and a huge factor in the influential things that happened in the business puts him on this list. But whoever was able to emulate him, and how many even tried to emulate?
Many failed. Yeah, many failed.
You
But
know,
he did
Andre
open
the
door.
Giant. It's not like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels gave us years later, the Daniel Bryans, and now we've got Will Ospreay. We've got all the technical guys
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Where is another giant? Again, there was no one like him before him, and there's been no one like him since.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he had the look too. I mean, it was a look. It wasn't just the size and
But he belongs on this
legitimacy.
list, not just for the contributions to WrestleManias and stuff like that, but for what you mentioned. And Mike, this guy was a TV star before Hogan.
Yeah.
Again, you guys, I could sit and listen to you guys all night, just keep my mouth shut, because it's like your points, both your points are great. I do say this. It's hard to influence someone to be a giant, but if I would say influence, how many people wanted to become wrestlers because of Andre the Giant?
Oh, probably a ton.
We
Right.
know Big John Studd was very influenced by Andre, and the stories go that he would take all these measures to try to get as big as Andre. You know, we hear stories of, HGH and all these sorts of things because Ken Patera told stories about that, and I've heard from Killer Kowalski the same thing too. His probably he was taking a lot of that HGH, and Patera claims that Stud actually grew in height a little. I don't know. That's possible, but he wanted to be the next Andre, and that's why there was real heat there, But Stud saw that Andre as an influence, saw that he could, be the big time, and that's what he did.
Speaking of that, maybe you guys know the story. I remember I was in the military, right? So I used to get the tapes of the matches way after they happened. And remember when they brought Stud back as a referee, and then he became like a good guy, and then he was in the Royal Rumble with Andre. What stopped that feud? What happened? Did he get sick, or they just got rid of Stud?
Good question. I don't know. I don't know that he could get over as a face as well, for being a heel so long.
But I mean, that's the way they were going with it, right? They were going to go Andre Stud the good guy, Andre the bad guy, and then it just died on the vine.
Didn't Andre have problems with John Studd? I used to read stories and hear stories that, he didn't care for work. If Andre didn't care for working with you, he was only going to do so much.
Oh, yeah. You scared the shit out of him, too, I guess. I guess Stud was legitimate.
I was thinking, guys, do you think that a guy like Andre, getting back to we've never seen anybody like him since, do you think a guy like Andre could even exist today with the way the fans have those physical expectations of matches with everybody flying all over the place and all this stuff? Do you really think a 7-foot, 500-pounder who moves as slow as molasses is going to somehow get to the level that Andre did?
Here lies the problem, Jimmy, I think, is the booking too, right? So the one awe about Andre, if you remember when we were younger, a lot of times, even when we looked at the wins and losses, right?
Yeah.
Remember when I go to your house, we'd like, hey, did Sergeant Slaughter beat Backlund at the Spectrum? What happened there, right? Andre, whether people want to argue or not, was the undefeated guy. So the whole aura around him was this unbeatable guy, right?
Years and years and years.
I would say if Andre is around now, they would be so hot to have him lose at some point to some star to make someone over.
Changed.
It wouldn't last long. It wouldn't last long.
Because the model has changed. There it is right there. There's your answer.
Okay, guys. Number 7, former, was a 16-time world champion, Ric Flair at number 7. Phil, why number 7?
He could have been higher too, I know, but again, just so many worthy people, I think, ahead. Influential. Obviously, the promos, obviously the exposure of the Superstation. Athletes today are in love with them. How many pro basketball players? How many pro athletes imitate Ric Flair? Absolutely love Ric Flair and everything about the persona. Again, someone you might bump into in real life and say, I know this guy's somebody, just the way he carries himself, the way he lives the gimmick. Again, I think that taught a lot of people that, you don't have to turn it off as soon as you leave the building. You can kind of keep that thing going, all night long. And so definitely very, 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 very influential, I would say. And again, probably ranked too low on the list. I understand, but that's where the arguments are. That's what I think.
Well, he definitely deserves to be on this list. He's probably the greatest. He's basically the perfect wrestler. And if I can throw this in for Mike, to me, he's the perfect wrestler. Everything about him is perfect, except for one thing that I know Mike will say. If he was only just a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, then he would be absolutely perfect, right, Mike? But in general, everything about him was perfection as far as look, he created the blueprint pretty much for the corporate heel that we saw years and years later. He was the company man. He was the guy in the suit. He was the guy that the everyday working man could hate. Oh, we need a face for the everyday working man. Dusty Rhodes, baby. Yeah. The whole thing is just so perfectly constructed. And how many people have patted themselves after Ric Flair all these years? My God, influence, important, everything about him. I really think he's the greatest all-around package as far as telling the story in the ring, too. Look, it's wrestling. You want a guy who can do it all, do everything. And Ric Flair could pretty much do everything.
And he really was at the head of the first faction in the business, really, with
Right.
the Four
There's that
Horsemen.
too.
They were the first
Well,
real.
let me ask this. Jimmy and I had this discussion. I'll ask you, Phil. If not for the Four Horsemen, does Ric Flair become as popular as he became?
Yes.
I agree. Yes, yeah, he was on his way, and what
Yeah.
he did, and you know, maybe he enhanced his popularity a little bit, but he certainly brought Arn Anderson up with him, Tully, Ole, even, you know, as well. Really brought them up to his level for a little while. So yeah, no, Flair was there. Flair was going to get there no matter what. Flair was
Flair
going to
was
get there no matter what.
Flair was there before he was there. And I'll
Yeah,
explain it this way with wrestling magazines. As you guys remember, we lived vicariously through the wrestling magazines. That was our connection to territories we couldn't see. And when
yeah,
I would read the wrestling magazines, Harley Race was champion of the NWA at the time, but I was mesmerized over the platinum blonde U.S. champion that was at war with Greg Valentine. Much more interesting to me. They had way more it factor than Harley. So Rick was already there, like Hogan was before Hogan became Hogan. Hogan was already so over with me that I wasn't interested in what Bob Backlund was doing when Hogan first got there with Blassie. I was like, whoa, Hogan. You know, these guys were going to make it no matter what, to answer your question, Mike. The Four Horsemen just was one more great album in his discography. You know what I mean?
You know, Jimmy, Phil, to me, Flair was big enough. He had the mic work. The one thing I've learned to love about Flair, and I was a homer, WWE homer, so Flair was the enemy. Again, I don't understand why people get upset that some people pro AEW, pro WWE. You do pick a team, right? This is what this
Yeah. A
whole
lot of
thing's
us do.
about.
Yeah.
But I will say the one thing that I've always grown to respect for is Flair could go to any territory, take on their baby face, and make it work. It's
Yep.
got to be hard to wrestle a different type of person every week, right?
Right.
I know he
Right.
does like a couple of matches in that town for that place, maybe a tag team match, and then he moves on. But it's like, you know, you had to wrestle Kerry Von Erich, then you had to run over and wrestle Junkyard Dog, and then you had to go run over and wrestle, you know, Dusty Rhodes, and then you had to go Magnum TA, and then, you know the story.
Right.
And I don't think any other wrestler could do it. I know Harley Race did, but I don't think anyone did it better than Flair. Let me put it that way.
No, and the professionalism. I mean, he's getting crocked the whole way through. He's getting shit faced.
yeah.
I mean, how is it that, you know, you look at the great bands like the Zeppelins or the Stones or whatever, that only lasted so long living that lifestyle, and it stopped or someone died. That's how
Yeah.
it worked. Ric Flair did this, is still doing this. It's like he's a machine, man. I'm sorry. It's just not human what's going on there.
He's got the
All right.
passion, man. It's the passion.
Yeah.
Number 6, Phil, you put Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Why at
Yes.
number 6, buddy?
Well, some could argue a higher position. I would say totally. I could understand that, but yeah, maybe kind of like the, you know, hard to distinguish between him and Stone Cold. I'd have to say it really is. But yeah, The Rock has crossed over and has done so much. I mean, to become the number one box office, the number one action star. I mean, phenomenal. Again, the pedigree is there too. You know, again, talk about setting new standards in promos and getting the crowd interaction. I mean, you know, more than I think anybody for that time, and maybe since that time, that ability to bring the crowd into the promo and just hold it in the palm of his hands, you know. Amazing performer, amazing, and obviously huge box office.
Interesting with The Rock. You know, all you got to do is just close your eyes every time LA Knight talks, and you want to talk influence. LA Knight is The Rock. Just listen to his speech patterns and stuff.
It's interesting you say that. I hear a lot of Stone Cold in him, Jimmy, too, and Mike. I hear a lot
He
of
has,
Stone
he has,
Cold
he has some of
from
that
LA
too.
Knight. He's kind of,
Yeah.
and again, I think he's kind of brought them both together in his presentation.
Well,
you
if
know?
you look at his presentation, you see the vest. He's got the work boots.
Yeah.
Okay, but he also has The Rock sideburns. The Rock, you know, he's got.
Oh,
the split
sure.
He's got influences from both of them. The Rock is, and look at boy, talk about stepping in shit and finding more shit to step in because you got a plethora of good shit around you. The Rock's becoming a huge star. What did that do for the family? Roman Reigns and the rest of them. I mean, are you kidding me? Without the Rock's, star bearing down on that family, is it quite the same? No.
No.
No, it's not. So his influence is massive today.
Well,
Perhaps the OTC. I don't know.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, Jimmy. Conrad, since getting a lot of popularity or heat for his comments about Roman Reigns, he doubled down with Bradshaw saying that no Samoan was popular at any point. Right? He went through the list from the Wild Samoans through. And,
what does he mean by popular? I don't know.
That they really weren't main eventers, right?
The Samoans were main event tag team champions for years. What is he talking about?
He said they weren't over.
They weren't over?
But again, Bradshaw kind of straightened them out. And again, I think it's a shtick because he can't really think that. But I mean, to Phil's point, to your point, even at the Rock at number 6, it's one of the most influential wrestlers in the history of wrestling. Forget about Umaga, forget about Roman Reigns. The Rock, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
All right, number 5, Phil, you put right behind him, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, merch aside, I mean, you talk about the advent of the cool heel. Would we have had The Rock if we didn't have Stone Cold first? Stone Cold showed that you could be that cool heel, and you could, again, the first time I think we've seen, at least at this level, the conflict between boss and employee, and who can't relate to that dynamic? I mean, genius. And I'll say this, and without giving away the list too much, I think a mistake I made and I thought about was putting Vince McMahon in there as a performer too. I really thought long.
It's funny, Phil, because at the end of this, we'll have a talk because I got it sitting right there.
You keep that in your pocket, and I'm going to keep Bobby the Brain Heenan in mine. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh yeah, well he could do it. Absolutely. Oh,
all right, but let's go with Stone Cold.
But Stone Cold, man, I'll tell you. I mean, besides the in-ring stuff, besides the talk about jacking the ratings during the Monday Night Wars, talking about turning the tide of that battle, and again, also on Vince McMahon's big lats on that big back too. I mean, this was a tandem effort, but we couldn't have had this evil Vince without Stone Cold, and then evil Vince even went beyond Stone Cold. So, yeah, he launched a lot of people as a result. So, absolutely deserved to be there.
It's funny, but of all the great names we've discussed, to me, it's a little bit sad. Austin will probably be the first to tell you this too. His biggest influences are some of the things, and he didn't intend for them to be this way, but it's the way it's turned out.
Yeah.
Drive me crazy. What I mean by this is how many years did we endure, and still sometimes endure, the crowd? What? They won't listen to a promo. What?
Yeah.
What? Oh my God! Even Stone Cold said, because I wish I never started that. But that is a huge influence, and it's still seen today. It drives me crazy.
Fantastic point.
The other huge influence that Stone Cold left us with, that again, not his intent, and it worked splendidly for him in his time period, is this gray matter thing. Getting back to what Mike said earlier, everybody's a good guy, everybody's a bad guy, everybody's a bad guy, everybody's a good guy, everybody's a guy. There's a gray matter now. It's not special anymore. And that's what made Stone Cold the first at doing that, really, and special.
Yeah.
It's when you take something and you beat it to death. And that's what we've done as a crowd. This is really on the crowd, because the crowd also demands 50-50 booking when they complain about the 120-pound Rey Mysterio not being the champion, and you got Obafemi standing over here. You know what I'm saying? So, like, Stone Cold has been massively influential for a lot of good things, too. But some of the biggest things he's influential for, to me, plague wrestling today.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about Conrad, and one of the things Conrad said is, hey, look, they pushed Roman Reigns. They put it on him. They made it happen, right? It wasn't organic. The fans didn't want it. Here's a fact. The company only puts the belt on someone that they know is going to sell tickets, right? If you're not going to sell tickets, that's the deal. And the reason I'm bringing it up in the Stone Cold conversation is because a lot of people say, "Oh, I liked him back with the Hollywood Blondes. I liked him back in WCCW." I couldn't stand the guy. I thought he was talentless. I didn't like the way he talked. Again, he comes to the WWE. He's the ringmaster. He's awful, and eventually, but sometimes luck, and all of a sudden he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. My point is, it's like, sometimes just something happens, something clicks, and then it just happens. And the best point of this whole thing is, after Jimmy and Phil, you spoke, I'm starting to think this guy should be more closer to number one, because in the reality of it, he's the one that caused audience, interference, and he's the one that blurred the line so much we can't get out of it anymore.
I'll tell you what else he is. He's the one that finally, after over a decade, easily removed Hulk Hogan as the truly biggest star in this business.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
There's two theme songs that come out, right? The Glass Breaking and The Rock, right?
My God. The loudest pop ever is the Mick Foley one. You guys all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. The night that they announced on WCW that Cactus Jack is going to win the title. The pop when the glass hit and Austin assisted in Foley's first world championship was ridiculous.
I was there. I was there live. And
Are you kidding me? You could hear after that? What was that like to be in the building? I haven't talked to someone who was there for that.
It was as loud as you think it was. It was rattling. It was amazing. Were
you out of your mind? Were you like just screaming? Like, what was it like?
Did you know you saw history?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, everyone kind of knew. Everyone sensed it. There was change in the air. You could sense it that night too. And I don't know why, but you could. It was quite a night outside. It was snowing. The snow was coming down. It was just a beautiful night, and it was just unfriggin' believable. And then we taped Nitro, so we didn't get to hear the results. We were there live, so it was pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Well, wait a minute. Wasn't it taped? It was taped. It was taped. So they knew the results, right? So that was the week
so you didn't have the same effect as us at home that were watching it live that night. You had already seen and knew that Mick was going to win by the time the Finger Poke of Doom aired.
I'm trying to remember that.
That's the same night. I'm bizarre this way. I think it's like January 4th of '99. WCW Nitro was airing live. WWF Raw is taped.
Yeah.
He announced on WCW that Cactus Jack is going to win the world title. That'll put a lot of asses in the seats. And we all switched over, because I did. I switched over to watch Foley win. And that very same night was the night that Kevin Nash poked Hogan in the chest with the Finger Poke of Doom.
Horrible.
That was the biggest mistake. That was what turned the war. Was that night? I still remember the date. I remember where I was.
That's an interesting defining. Yeah, that totally changed the course.
Because the Finger Poke of Doom infuriated people. They were like, "What is going on over here? They're not even having wrestling matches." And then Stone Cold comes out and does what he does for Foley. Forget it. Everybody went over there. The end.
All right, Phil, at number 4, you're going to have to explain yourself on this. With this one, I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out where you got this one from. Vern Gagne at number 4. Go ahead, Phil.
Funny? You know what's funny? Vern Gagne's full name is Laverne, okay? And if he formed a tag team with the English wrestler Big Daddy, Shirley Crabtree, they could call themselves Laverne and Shirley. But
very good.
Again, none of us, I know we're all old, but none of us were around in the 1950s. But there was a network called the Dumont Cable Network, or the Dumont Network, that was seen through. It was kind of like the superstation of its time. And Vern Gagne was the number 1 guy on that network. Vern Gagne also was the highest paid wrestler for a period of time as well. He brought the obviously the Olympic credentials. He brought all that amateur stuff there. And later on, we know he became a trainer of so many. Talk about influencing directly careers of so many superstars.
Great point.
In 1972, there was a movie. Vern was in that wrestler movie. Whether it was box office or not, it was, still one of those crossover events. And obviously, Ed Asner thought a lot of him to be a part of this movie. But yeah, ran a great territory. His later years were, a little questionable. He probably should have exited well before that. It's funny too, because there's another guy on this list too that's ranked up there. And Vern actually did wrestle Gorgeous George several times in the career. And here's a funny thing. Vern made a promise. He said, if I can't beat Gorgeous George in 30 minutes, I'll shave my head, which was kind of funny because Vern was already halfway there.
Yep.
It should have been Gorgeous George's locks on the line, but they potentially had something there. But they just had to switch it around. But Vern, just number one star for a while on cable back then. I think he did a lot. Wrestling was kind of in a flux at that point anyway. This is right before Bruno came in the early 60s. And, I think he deserves some credit. He built up the Midwest and obviously had an influence on so many future, your Flairs, your Pateras, everybody, your Iron Sheiks, amazing.
Good point. All good points. Jimmy.
Well, he's halfway home. What I mean by this pick is he's halfway home because I feel like this spot should be shared by him and Lou Thez.
I thought about Luthez as well.
What I mean by that is his legitimacy. Okay, like Bruno. Let's be fair here. Bruno didn't come from the athletic amateur and Olympic backgrounds of Vern. Okay, Bruno was more a brawler, a kicker, a puncher, and a bear hug guy.
Strong man.
But what Vern and Lou Thez created and were champions for a very long time, they created a blueprint, and Mike will like this. They created the influential blueprint that led to the legitimacy of Bob Backlund being champion, led to the legitimacy of Kurt Angle coming in as an Olympic gold medalist being champion, and that opened the door to the legitimacy of a collegiate champion and a UFC champion, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
So Thez and Gagne have to be on. Bruno's a whole different story to me than Gagne and Thez. Those two have to be from the pure legitimacy of presenting a background athlete, professional wrestling champion.
Oh yeah, no question. Lou Thez, I thought of having him on the list. Old-fashioned hooker that he was. That sounds funny.
But to me, they're very similar in some ways, and they were building up the country with pro wrestling.
Lou Thez carried the NWA on his back for years, but and I think TV was a big part in that decision of having.
Yes,
Vern
it was. It was.
So on my end, you guys really sold it well. It was great job. I would put Vince McMahon in that slot. Almost both the same, right? Created stars, ran cable. Vince just did it more successfully. That's what I'm going to go with this one.
Honestly, most influential. We haven't gotten to the number one spot, but Vince McMahon is the most influential person that ever walked through the back doors of any professional wrestling thing.
Oh yeah.
The end.
I think, Jimmy, after we go through the last three, I feel like that could be argument. I'm not going to disagree, but there could be an argument there. But I would kick Vern out personally, and I'd put Vince in that spot. But it really
I think they deserve a spot here to be mentioned and talked of. Thez and Gagne definitely. And as we were talking about that, I flashed back to when we covered Foley. What? No Terry Funk mention?
That's true.
My God, if you want to talk influential on this business, I think Terry Funk has a thing too.
Maybe he's on the list. Number 3, the former living legend, Bruno Sammartino. Why Bruno, Phil?
Well, first of all, he created, I think he was one of the forerunners of the ethnic champion, as we know. Vince Sr. saw how the Italians rallied around him and translated into sellout upon sellout. And again, not with the vehicle of cable TV or any of the other types of exposures that the performers get today. It was so old school.
But Phil, let me ask you a question, not to cut you off. If you talk to the Southern fan, you hear them on these podcasts, they have like literally no respect for Bruno Sammartino. They don't think very highly of him whatsoever.
They're Harley Race people.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Harley was obviously very realistic in his presentation, but I would argue Bruno was too. Okay,
very.
Bruno was very rough, very realistic, and very intense. And You listen to those old Madison Square Garden crowds get behind him, and just the emotion that he evoked, and again, just the sellouts, speak volumes again without any national apparatus behind him, just
I-
word of
I'm
mouth.
I'm in a strange place with Bruno on this list because we're talking about influential, and when
Yeah,
you mentioned the ethnic champions that we don't have those today. We're not even
no,
allowed to have ethnic champions today. So
right.
as far as influence goes, I'm struggling to come up with what Bruno the character, the in-ring persona, the style and everything. Where are they? Where are those types today? Do we have? Somebody could probably be thinking of someone right now and yelling at the screen. I'm struggling to come up with someone who was built in the Bruno mode and has had a career in the Bruno mode in the last. I'm going back. I can't. You know what I mean? I can't find it. It doesn't mean that he's. This goes back to important. See, with Gagne and Dez, that legitimacy thing I was telling you about with the athletic backgrounds applied to them that led to Angle, Backlund, Angle, Lesnar, blah, blah. I'm struggling with the Bruno trail that follows because when Hogan comes, it almost squashes everything that was before it. And am I making sense here? Like, can you tell me, Mike, help me here? Like, where is the
Well,
major influence of San Martino, the character, in today's wrestling? You can
well,
find Piper in MJF or Punk. You can find, in other wrestlers like we were talking about LA Knight. Where's the one that goes, he reminds me of Bruno? Gotcha.
Oof, it's
I
tough,
got you.
Jimmy. That's a really, really, really great
And it's because
point.
of the list with the key word being influential. Now, as far as the business goes, Bruno's incredibly influential. The ability to be a
Well,
champion, the ability to translate to television.
that's what I said. I think with no San Martino, see, this is my whole point to Southern fans, right? So whether you
Right.
respected Bruno or not, New
Right.
York was the place to make money.
He
right?
has to be there from a business
Right.
end, more so than the wrestling
If he's
persona.
not there, wrestling isn't here now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
we
why
talk
he has to be on here, but I'm pointing out that it's the business of it, not necessarily Bruno the character, because
Yes.
I've seen nothing
Agreed.
like him since.
I agree with that. 100%.
It's almost like Andre,
but
if you think about it.
yeah,
There's no
absolutely.
Andre since either.
But they were such an integral part to the business.
Of course.
They
No doubt.
influenced the wrestling business.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Bruno at 3.
Yeah.
Again, he was more important than Harley Race by
yeah.
a boatload.
Yes.
You could name any NWA star. It doesn't matter. This was New York. This is
Yeah.
where the money was made. This is where the wrestlers wanted to wrestle. You know what I mean?
Ultimately,
the
at the end of the
AWA
day,
was
yeah.
good. For wrestlers, they loved the time off. They made okay money or good money, but you didn't make WWF money. You didn't make that money.
Mm-hmm.
If you thought about it, if you want a card with Bruno and you were a mid-level or up, right, at a bare minimum back at those times, 70s, late 70s, mid 70s, you were making $500 for the Boston Garden, Madison Square Garden. I don't know, the Capitol Center, no, Phil, Jimmy, right? No, the Capitol Center, probably not, right? It was the Boston Garden, Madison Square Garden, and what was the other big place? What's that?
Spectrum.
The Spectrum. So if you do those 3 nights, you're talking about $1,500, and then, like Morocco said, then you did your little high school runs and whatever else. You probably made yourself $50, $80, $100. But in the end, in the mid 70s, you were doing $120,000, $150,000 a year.
That's incredible.
You could.
Yeah.
Well,
Incredible.
Wahoo chose wrestling over football. Do the math.
It's funny though, Jimmy, and I'm not knocking Wahoo, but I do not believe the guys in the South. We've had a lot of those guys on. I don't believe Tommy Rich made that kind of money wrestling in Atlanta. I don't think the money was the same. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Tommy was so over, but I don't know what they were paying him. I don't.
And where did they go? I'm just telling you, when I was in the Army during WC, we talked to Rotundo and DiBiase about this. I went to a WCW in Louisiana. There was literally 5 people there, man. I'm not kidding. And it was a stacked card. It was Michael Hayes against Lex Luger. It was the Iron Sheik. It was Mike Rotundo against Sting. There was maybe 20 people. And I mean 20 people.
Right.
We walked in front row tickets for like $10.
Crazy.
Could you hear them call spots?
ECW.
What's that?
Could you hear them call spots?
So what had happened, and this is a true story. Okay, Sheik had just come to WCW, and we were all WWF guys. So I forget who he was wrestling, but we were going Hogan, screaming about Hogan. And then he gets on the microphone. He goes, "I'm the true WWE champion." And he would go on WCW after that every time after, and that would be his shtick.
You
That is
provoked
a
him.
true story. We provoked him. We provoked him. We had such a good. We were so worn out when Sting was
wow.
wrestling Rotundo. Sting comes out. He goes, "What? You're not going to at least cheer for me?" And we were just drained, right? And then
Yay!
we went again the next month, and I made the same mistake. Like they let you razz them. It was like we're the only ones there. I did it to a Samoan. The dude jumped out of the ring and chased me out of the fucking place. And I'm not fucking kidding. So that's a true story. All right. I don't want to talk about my history. Number 2, the incredible Hulk Hogan. Phil?
Yeah. I know. Maybe number 1 right there, huh? Maybe. Boy, he, if there were any casual fans kicking around in the early 80s, thinking, this is for me, maybe this isn't for me, and then they see Hogan, they're in it. They're in it for the long haul, just immediate attraction, just immediate, I don't know, superheroes coming to life, This is before Marvel. This is before the Marvel universe and movies. This is before so many things. I mean, this is a larger than life superhero who was also pretty cool, Didn't hurt that he was a musician too, and he had that whole stage presence thing going already. And again, how many kids did he influence? Teenagers, adults to train, say their prayers, and eat their vitamins. I mean, just
Hey, real quick, just to go back to Bruno, Bongwater brings up a good point. Larry Zbyszko had a lot of Bruno in him.
Definitely. Two very hairy chests.
Yes, for sure.
Every bleach blonde wrestler, yeah, that's true. Java Will.
Well, we'll see if Gorgeous George is even on the list. Jimmy, Hulk Hogan.
If we're doing influential, my list would have been Vince McMahon number 1 and Hulk Hogan number 2, and then everyone else follows. Because that's just the truth. It really is. It's the truth. It's Vince McMahon, most influential man that ever walked behind the curtain, and Hulk Hogan, most influential wrestler that ever walked behind the curtain, because look at where everything is today.
Yeah.
Hogan was just great at everything. Okay, except technical wrestling. Okay, all right, you got him. You got him on that. Make sure you milk that cow to the end of time like you guys do when you sprain your fingers on a keyboard. But, to his credit, though, too, he took proper training, as Phil well knows, and he got a leg broken for it, the old school way, as we all know, and came back and, said his prayers, took his vitamins, and went on to be the biggest star in the history of this business. Everything he ever did basically turned to gold, When I was told by my friends after the fall of WCW, there's nothing left in his tank. He's done. He ruined them. He has no dollar value. Oh, yeah, here comes Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania. Kiss my ass.
And to go to Hogan's documentary, I agree with him, Jimmy, is that he should have ended his career with that match.
That would have been fantastic. I agree. But then again, when Ric Flair got told, "I love you" by Shawn and got kicked in the face, that should have been the end right there, too.
I agree. I'll say this. Hulk Hogan marked the time that the pro wrestling expert, who pro wrestling was their dirty little secret, ended. Right? That was the end, because now the regular people like ourselves got into it. And like Phil had said, if you weren't into it, now you're in, right? And now they're dirty little secret. So when they talk about the old times, that's why they always dog Hogan, because Hogan really is the one that took their little precious little secret away from them, them and their 24,000 other people went to the garden every month, right? Or their high school. When Hogan came, regular guys all of a sudden were watching wrestling, and it's no longer their secret.
You want the musical comparative, and this nails it. Hogan was the Black Album from Metallica. Metallica was the dirty little secret. I lived it. I was there. They wouldn't even put Metallica on the radio. I bought Master of Puppets.
Garage Days Revisited.
That's later, Phil. They were fucking incredible. They were incredible. The bus crashed. Cliff Burton dies. Okay, they put out Injustice for All. They're still our dirty little secret. They're getting no help from anybody, but they're going platinum. They were our secret. The Black Album comes out. Half my friends give Metallica the middle finger and run away. The WWE was the dirty little secret. Here comes Hogan, the Black Album, 16 million copies sold in Metallica's case, unheard of. And half the fan base goes, fuck them. I'm still a Metallica fan. I still love WWE. What, you can't have both? What the hell?
Love it.
Things
Love
change.
it.
What year, Jimmy, did you first see Metallica in concert?
I was lucky enough to see Metallica with Cliff before the bus accident. You
That
know,
would have
so
been
I saw
86.
Metallica before they were Metallica. I saw Metallica arrive as Metallica. In that final time that they came to New York, they came and they opened up for Ozzy.
You and me both. We were there, Jimmy. We were both there, right? That was
Ozzy
the.
recognized that this band that's getting no radio play is unbelievable. And he put them on. They opened up for him. And as great as Ozzy was, because Ozzy did a great show, Metallica blew him out of the building.
They blew him out, shot in the dark, right?
Out of the building.
Phil, I'll tell you the story. So Jimmy and I we weren't hanging out at that time, but we both went to this concert. I went there, and I didn't even know who Metallica was, and they opened up the Master of Puppets. They were so incredible, and then I met this girl, and then she gave me something to smoke, and before I knew it, I woke up in a car. It was like I missed the Ozzy concert. I don't
you're
know.
funny.
Well, at that point, I would have did anything to get laid, dude. You could have gave me anything.
Right.
As long as I was going to get laid, I'm going to do it.
Unless
that's
Saturday
funny.
night's main event was on, then you might give it a.
Well, that's a whole
You
nother
should have hung
thing.
out with me, Mike. We took acid. I stayed up half the night, and I got laid. And I saw both acts.
I don't know. I just found myself sleep. No, I wasn't. I found myself outside my car, and then forget it. But anyway, it was a long story.
Wild
But
days,
it was the
baby.
Black Album, man.
Wild
He
days.
was-
All right, number one, and I don't necessarily disagree. Jimmy brings up a really great point. This is a tough one because he's got to be on the list. Gorgeous George.
Yeah, there he is, George Wagner himself. Yeah, certainly not the biggest, most physically impressive guy, but talk about the ultimate showman, the trailblazing, as J.A. Will mentioned earlier, the first, I think, to do the peroxide, the whole effeminate thing. I think he threw bobby pins out. He had a valet, came out with music, first to come out with music. Again, they attribute TV sales, the boost of TV sales to him, to Gorgeous George. He was responsible for moving more TVs in the 40s and 50s than just about anybody else. And so I think that carries a lot of weight. But we mentioned some people staying, like Flair staying in for too long. Gorgeous George did too. As a matter of fact, Bruno also tangled with Gorgeous George during the end of his career, which is around 1960 or so. And Bruno said that he heard a lot of fans yelling, "Don't hurt him, Bruno. He's too old." So Bruno put that in the back of his mind and said to himself, "I'm never going to be in the ring when I'm, past my prime." Some could argue, though, in the 80s that might have happened.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I would have
Pretty
loved
good
to
story
see
here,
Bruno
Bruno.
against George. I would have loved to see that match.
Yeah.
Gorgeous
Yeah.
George Bruno. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they were actually, I think, Sunnyside Gardens. They wrestled each other. They also came to, I think, to Hartford, Connecticut. I think they wrestled about a half a dozen times. But yeah, definitely they were in New York for sure.
The thing I
By the
remember
way-
the most.
By the way, Jimmy, before you go
Yeah.
on, Bongwater
Yeah.
says that I have seen Air Supply about 9 times.
Air Supply. Just when I
I like
thought
it.
was
I like
over
Air
you.
Supply, dude.
I've listened to them, sure.
Fuck yeah. There's nothing wrong with liking
yeah.
Air Supply. Come on.
Mike, could you sing us a bar of "Course You're Every Woman in the World" to me?
I'm so lost
Every
without.
woman in the world to me.
There you go.
You're my fantasy.
I mean, after Barry Manilow, what's the band to most likely make you cry? Air Supply. That
Look
rhymes.
at that. You're rhyming now. Pretty good.
Yeah, look at that.
What's your thoughts on Gorgeous George there, Jimmy Farrow?
Well, as you already know, we wouldn't be even having a show if it wasn't for Gorgeous George. You know how when you first get into something, you're a little kid, your father's the most influential person in your life, and you want to tell him that you like something, but you're not sure how your dad's going to take it. So I started getting into wrestling, and I was interested in it, and we were at a store, and I said, "Can I get a wrestling magazine?" And I was afraid. I was like, how's he going to react, And he turns and he looks at me. He goes, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been seeing it at Grandpa's. When we go to Grandpa's, I see it on the TV when you put me in the other room. So, he looked at me, he goes, yeah, okay. He goes, I liked wrestling when I was your age. And I said, really? I said, who was the wrestlers? And he said, oh, Gorgeous George. I said, who's Gorgeous George? He goes, well, he said, Gorgeous George was such a big TV star that in those days, whoever had the television set on the block was the popular one. So they would all go to the one person's house to watch one of only two things, really, the news, because the news was very important, or is who's Gorgeous George fighting this week? So, and this is 1950s life in the Bronx, and I thought that was very interesting. He said Gorgeous George was a superstar.
Well, Jimmy, can I tell you a quick story? My father used to drive a cab in the city, and he used to say, Mike, there's only three people that stopped traffic in the city. That was Muhammad Ali, superstar Billy Graham, and Gorgeous George.
I believe it.
That's
You believe
wild.
you believe that
That's
story?
wild.
I do.
You believe
I
that
actually
story?
do.
You
I
believe
do
my
believe
father
that.
drove a cab in the city?
Oh no, that part I don't believe.
It was actually, I was trying to do a funny joke and another inside joke, but I guess it went over your head.
No. Well, I was just taking you on face value. I didn't have time to digest the fact that your father's driving. I could see the leather cap, though. Are you sure he didn't drive a cab?
My father made a meager living driving a cab in the city.
He did not.
I know who you're referencing now. I know. Even I get that reference.
Is this a mob movie? What
I
is this?
get that reference. Yeah.
Oh my God! Is this somebody we know and I can't stand? Most likely.
Yes, of course. Of course.
I can't anymore.
Does the first letter is it E?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If you watch any of these things, whenever that's his one liner. He's got like the same one liners. When my father drove a cab in the city, there was only two people that stopped traffic. One was Muhammad Ali, and the other one was superstar Billy Graham. And my father made a meager living as a taxi driver.
Take my wife, please. Oh, that's been used?
Eddie Youngman.
Buy my wife off the internet, please. Okay,
Oh, boy.
Phil, great list.
Thank you.
Fantastic list. Now that Jimmy's speaking, I would put Vince number one, Hogan number two, and then everybody shuffle up. Right?
Yeah.
And Vern gets knocked out in my book. But again,
no.
I can't. No, he does. In my book.
No.
There's
no backlash
real
without
quick.
Vern and Lou.
Okay. Do you put Vern in front of?
Vern.
Do you put Vern in front of Stone Cold?
No.
Do you put him in front of The Rock?
No.
Do you put him in front of Ric Flair?
No.
Andre?
We're gonna have 11 on the list.
Okay, so if you go to 11 on the list, Vern stays.
Plus,
But
we added Vince, so we have 12. And we never got back to it. You cannot tell me that without Bobby the Brain Heenan, we wouldn't have the managerial trail we've had all these years.
Yeah, but you talk about influence, Jimmy, and I'm
That's
not challenging
influence.
on this. I love him, but here's the influence. He was such a great influence, they don't even use managers anymore.
Well, what's Paul Heyman been for the last 25 years?
He's an advocate.
Oh, stop it. We both
He's
know
an
he's a manager.
advocate.
Yeah, it's a fancy
He
name.
never
for manager.
uses the word manager, dude.
We
ever.
both know it's a fancy name for representation, which is management. So
it's it's so great that you brought this up, because on his interview with 6 Feet Under with Undertaker, he says that he was a manager, and
now we're gonna.
I'm pretty sure maybe it was Captain Lou Albano. Someone said to him,
right.
Manager is a dying role
Oh, he was
in
right
this
to
industry.
change the
Become an
label.
announcer. And he says, I'm not going to be an announcer, but I'm also not going to be a manager. You're going to call me CEO of whatever. What was
Right.
his? What was
he
his?
changed the label.
The Dangerous Alliance, right?
Right.
So, all right. Before we go, I got to ask you guys this. So you mentioned Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
Give me a top 3 greatest managers of all time in order, please.
Oh, Phil, go first.
3 to 1.
Oh, you're killing me.
Yeah.
Well,
That's why you're going first.
Well, Heenan's got to be, how can you say nothing but number one, Number one, definitely. Boy.
Over Paul Heyman, huh?
Can I make it? Can I make it easy on your vote? I'll just throw out my 3, 2, 1 in order.
Okay.
3 Heenan, 2 Albano.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah, unless you want to disqualify Super Mario Brothers and MTV, you better not.
No.
Okay.
No. Listen, I'm not disagreeing
All
with
right.
you.
So Heenan, Albano, Heyman.
Yeah.
I'm
Two of
going
the
Heenan.
three I
I'm
went
getting.
before. Two of
I'm
the
going
three
Heenan. I'll go Heenan, Albano, Heyman. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
That to me is the top three. And Heyman's the manager. Spin it whatever title you want. Hogan's not a wrestler. He's a grappler. Come on. You know, it's
I
the
like
same
the
thing.
Wizard because he didn't really interfere, but you always wanted to
Right.
see him get clipped. You know,
Right.
I really,
Yeah.
as a kid anyway, loved the Grand
Right.
Wizard.
And the funny thing is, on the back of the baseball card, the Wizard wins because he always had the champions.
See, can I again? Great conversation. When I first got into wrestling, Jimmy brought me in. Right, wrestling was already in action, but the one thing, talk about storytelling. Now, whether it was on purpose or not on purpose, right? Albano always had the tag team titles, always,
Yes.
but he also had the world title twice. Okay,
Right.
the Wizard, right, and then Albano ends up with the Intercontinental title in Morocco, so he's like a grand champion. The
Right.
Wizard was always the manager of the world champions.
Right.
Never had any other belt. But Blassie never won anything. You knew if your bad guy came and Blassie was the manager,
Yeah, Blassie.
it was over for him. So when
Until
he
the Sheik.
finally wins it with the Sheik,
Right.
you almost are like, whoa,
Right.
holy shit, right?
You know, to be fair to the Wizard, though, I think he did manage Intercontinental Champion Ken Patera. Pretty sure
You know,
he did.
he also managed, I'm sorry, you're right. He also managed Morocco.
And
you're right.
Morocco.
Yeah.
I don't
you're
think the Wizard did the tag team thing, though, right, Phil? I don't think so.
I don't recall any tag champs for the Wizard at all. Did he manage at one? Did he manage Fuji and Tanaka at one point? I think he just did that to sub briefly, but yeah, no tag team champs. For the Wizard.
You know, here was the question I forgot to ask Morocco. Maybe you guys can answer it. So Morocco's with the Wizard. But when he comes back, he's with Albano. But Morocco sold it on the interview like they moved him to Albano. But I think it was because the Wizard died, right?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Wizard was in poor health at the end, so it was one of the two. Either he was in poor health and couldn't do it anymore, or he was already gone. I can't remember exactly.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
great
Okay,
show, guys. I want to
Yeah.
remind everybody, if you want, please like and subscribe. We belong to our distributor on audio, the Believe Network, BLEAV. So please go on there, like and subscribe. Most recently, one of our top hits, Monte The Pharaoh, become number 2 in South Korea. Want to thank all the fans out in South Korea. It's made us number 2.
Yeah.
We've been
We
charting.
catch missiles?
Yeah, you didn't see that, Jimmy?
Is that what that says? Holy.
That's Little Rocket Man.
Little Rocket Man right there, baby.
My God.
That's
But I thought our president is friendly with Rocket Man. I'm so confused. Never mind.
Well, we're protecting the people that listen to our show in South Korea, right? That's
Hey,
what
Mike,
we're
we're
all
all out
about.
of water guns. We got to get more. Whoops.
Whoops. Oops. Should have realized this wasn't going to be so easy.
What do you mean
Oh,
they're
man.
not giving up?
On the count of 3, guys, we got to go guns up, okay?
What?
All right.
What?
You know what I mean?
No,
Yeah.
because Mike, no, not where I come from. No.
I want to see. Look at you. You're getting in shape over there. I see that.
You are getting in shape.
Yo.
Me?
All right, give us a count. Give us a count, Phil. There you go. Hold on. Look at Phil, man.
Oh, he wants to make muscles?
Look
Yeah.
at these guys. I want to be a
Okay, well.
cartoon with you guys.
You will be. I will be
Yeah, I want to
making
be an
this
AI
cartoon.
cartoon.
Phil catches
By the
rockets.
way, I want to recognize Rip Rogers, who got a award for his wrestling, history and his career from the CAC. So Rip, who's a
cool.
good friend of the show,
Deservedly
Rip,
so.
congratulations.
God damn.
Great guy, and
Absolutely.
you can get drunk if you bet on every time he says "fuck" in an interview. Again, I wanted to remind everybody, I'm sorry Mikey Whitbeck at the last minute was booked on another wrestling match, but he will be with us. We're also probably going to have Bill Apter on and a few
Yeah.
other people. So we've been hot and heavy with some really solid interviews. Phil, what'd you think of the Morocco interview, buddy?
Loved it. I mean, how could you not? And love him. And he was really good with you guys. I think he enjoyed himself with you guys, because obviously you guys are a little different than most interviewers. And I mean that in a great way, I think he felt very comfortable with you. And
I appreciate that. I will tell you that was a big concern of mine. And Jimmy was like, relax. I was like, and I'm not knocking Morocco. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But his interviews are always very, whoa.
Yeah.
But he was like magnificent Morocco, man.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was
like,
great.
holy shit, this guy's giving the fucking balls out, right? I got to tell you, some of my, when Jimmy was away, I did really enjoy Teal Piper. I thought she was fucking fantastic. I had this one girl on. I guess her name's Jade or whatever. She was fucking awful, dude. I had to try. I wanted to pull the plug. It was like, at one point, I asked her like how she feels about the world's politics. She goes, "I don't know. I watch Love Island." I'm like, "Oh my god, just get me the fuck out of here."
Mike, I got to tell you, nothing's worse than looking at Eric Sims's face, but that was close.
Oh man, poor bam, Cincy. Nice. Then we had what's her name, Princess Victoria, who got so drunk on the show.
That was close too.
Yeah,
she couldn't even fucking speak, man. That's how fucked up she was. She was staring into the camera. I mean, my God.
That's awesome.
Oh boy. Yeah, I was having what's it all about Alfie moments sometimes when I'd be driving and I would tune in. I'm like, I wonder how Mike's still. Oh,
that was like, I'm like, holy dog shit. How did you like
the gimmick with the firewater?
How did you like the Barbie Leslie interview?
That was good. That was the one I wish I was on.
She was kick ass, dude.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, I shared this before. Like we're friends with Missy. Missy's a great person. They do not like each other. And Missy was very upset that she was on the show. But I said to Missy, she literally did not say one bad thing about you. She didn't say a fucking thing. She talked about Brutus. She didn't really talk shit about Brutus either, to be honest with you. And she did it for 2 hours. She was pretty cool. Good stuff.
Yeah, she was.
So anyway, we want to thank everybody who joins us on every Thursday. We love you guys. Wonderful family.
I didn't even look at the chat, but just a big hello to everybody. To J.A. Will, Maria is out there. To Jason, to obviously Bruce is out there. B40, Zombies there, I'm sure. Just a whole great group of people, and I enjoy talking to them, and I enjoy being here as well. This is pretty cool.
You know what, dude?
I'll tell you what I don't enjoy, Phil. Your Red Sox better stay far behind us in the standings.
I haven't even checked on the score yet. I know, but
aren't they way out? They're way out, aren't they?
No, they're not way out. They came way back, and they're right behind us, and we're right behind Tampa.
How far are we from behind Tampa now?
4 games last I checked, but there's still enough time to fix that.
Do you understand the catch 4 games? It's almost impossible at this point.
No, there's still enough time. The Yankees could possibly do that. We'll see.
I also want to thank Bruce from ESO, who has been doing a poll. He did the greatest tag teams, which the Road Warriors won, and we just had the greatest intercontinental champion, which ended up being Macho Man Randy Savage. I would not have expected that. What do you think, Phil or Jimmy?
I'm a big fan, and it's amazing. He's a president. They still use his voice in commercials. You know that? It's amazing. Macho Man is deserving, I think.
But I always thought of him as a world champion, right, guys? What do you think?
We did this subject one time on our show, Mike. Didn't we cover who we felt were the greatest intercontinental champ? We did. And as far as I'm concerned, when I think of the Intercontinental belt and who represented it best and who I most associate with that belt as he's the Intercontinental champion is Mr. Perfect.
I agree.
Okay. Macho Man, when I think of Macho Man, I agree with Michael. This is a world champion, Macho Man. Okay. But Mr. Perfect, of anybody, I could think of course, Scott Hall, guys who should have been or could have been world champions that held the secondary titles. Mr. Perfect is the greatest Intercontinental champion.
So for the inaugural Monte The Pharaoh greatest of, the Road Warriors won, which we knew was going to happen. Shockingly, though, the finals were the Road Warriors against the Midnight Express, which totally just fucking surprised me. I would never have thought the Midnight Express would make it. I thought it was going to actually be the Dudleys against the Road Warriors. That would be a hell of a real match to go watch.
I hate to sound like an old school nerd, but I think the greatest final would have been the Road Warriors versus the Rock and Roll Express, quite honestly, but that's me.
Yeah, but I think they did that, didn't they? They must have done that at some point in their run, right?
Right, but I'm just saying at the end, if I was, my opinion on the poll and stuff.
You know what? When you talk about Rock and Roll and Midnight, I kind of just say they're the same. You know what I mean?
They're kind of similar. I mean, they were,
And the finals on this one was Macho Man against Bret Hart. When it went to the finals, I'm like, they're going to vote Bret Hart in. There's no way you're not going to vote him in, right?
Right.
So I think the next one up is the wrestling's greatest factions.
Okay.
So we'll see how that runs. Great show. I'll be announcing some guests for next week. I'm with Shelly Martinez on Friday. Jimmy is working. Shelly comes back once a month. She does
I love her voice.
She does.
Such a beautiful.
You know,
voice.
she is a good egg, man. She is a good egg, and I gotta tell you the truth. And I've told her this. I hope she doesn't take offense to this. I'm shocked she can't get traction. I'm just shocked.
She's too good for the wrestling business. I mean that in every positive way possible. She's too good a person. She's too attractive. She's just too good. She's too good for that business.
Why can't she get traction though, Jimmy?
Maybe because she doesn't take shortcuts. You know, if she wanted to, she could go cook in her underwear. Trust me, people would be watching.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I
know
mean?
what?
She doesn't take shortcuts. That's what I've always liked about her. I haven't talked to her lately or seen her, but
one thing I do tell her is
real. You know,
she's real, but sometimes she gives too much. Sometimes you got to have them coming back for more.
I think that she's a very emotional, sensitive person.
I don't mean don't tell your story, but don't give. Listen, if you give the entree before the fucking appetizer, right? People eventually aren't going to come back, right? I mean, I think this is why this show is done well. It's episodic television, right? You don't know what the fuck you're going to get. You don't know if some dude's going to come up there drunk and curse you out. You don't know if you're going to have a former wrestling legend just get totally drunk on your show and can't even speak. Or you don't know if you're going to get you get a girl that fucking has a rock for a brain and she wants to be a wrestler, and it's like, give it up, you know?
Yeah, but there's also that other side, or you're going to get one of the greatest interviews with a famous guy you haven't seen, and you're like, holy shit, this is a great interview. You might get that too.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
So we're
how many
outrageous,
times you get that?
I also, think that at the end of the day, we still have the basics, the important things. It is a wrestling program sometimes. But, in general, though, I think we deliver a little bit of everything. You never know what you're going to get.
Look at this show today. We went through a pretty kick-ass subject.
Right.
You guys spoke highly intelligently. I mean,
Evan Ginsberg would have been jerking off to this. Are you kidding me?
Think Hannibal could do this? Maybe James Romero could do this.
Well, we know Hannibal jerks off. He's constantly leaving messages about his wee-wee.
Let me ask you this. Do you think James Romero could have handled this subject?
No, because James Romero didn't live through this subject. Sure, he could talk to it in a third-person perspective, but we lived through all, except for Gorgeous George and Vern, and we even did live during the times of Vern in the magazines. I lived through, Mike, we lived through, they put the belt on Vern again?
Yes.
We were around for that shit. So, yeah, you're not going to get this. No, James could not do what we did tonight, But at the same time, 50 years from now, when James is probably still doing podcasting and we're pushing up daisies, who's laughing now?
Well, listen, sooner or later,
you got time, right, Phil?
Phil, can you tell everybody your radio show where they can listen to you live?
Yeah, we'll be on air tomorrow. WPKZ 105.3 FM AM 1280, WPKZ.net. You can listen live online. We'll have the fitness feature tomorrow, talking to the head of the Fitchburg Veterans Council about a 5K race. I'm ready to run that. And it's going to be a good show, so tune in. Hey, I wanted to ask you guys if you heard from Marty at all. How's he doing?
Marty just called me like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Really? Okay. That's a good sign, I think.
I will tell you this. So he called me about 2 weeks ago, and I literally couldn't understand a thing he was saying. And I was really, really concerned. Jimmy, we've all spoken to Marty at some point, right?
Yeah.
Marty you could not understand a word. This time around, I could understand, he was talking. He's come up to the big event in New York. Look, took a little shrapnel for the announcing of his amputation. Again,
yeah.
I usually defend, I usually own up to whenever I do something shady or if I do anything. This one I thought was totally stamped, approved by Marty Jannetty, So I know for a fact his wife is fucking pissed off at me, and but it is what it is.
They should be mad at Eddie Mansfield.
Yeah, but you know what, Jimmy, to defend Eddie, I think Eddie was doing it out of the goodness of his heart. I think he was upset for Marty,
I
and he had to speak.
That part, but if you're hosting that show and you're not aware that Marty is not aware that Eddie's about to say all these things, and then Eddie says all those things, okay, they're going to get mad at you, but what about Eddie?
He's mad. He's mad at Eddie. And by the way, Jimmy, to be fair, I knew what Eddie was going to speak about, but I thought it hadn't. Listen, he had a picture of Marty with no leg. I'm like, where did he get the picture from? You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I could have, my wife yelled at me. She goes, "You could have called Marty," and she's right. I could have, but like, I don't know.
What, 2 minutes before you're going on the air?
Well,
Wasn't
you
this
know
like
what?
right at
I
the
guess
last
the next
second?
I guess the next fair question would have been, well, Mike, if you did call Marty, you said don't do it. Would you have done it?
You're doing it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm telling the truth. Yeah, I probably would have done it. Yeah. Listen, it would have come out anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'll tell you my weakness. I love when me and Jimmy are in the dirt sheets. I just love it. I can't help it.
breaking news, right?
I just love it. I don't know. Something about it. Jimmy
No,
always
not
makes
you.
fun of me. Jimmy makes fun of me, right? Jimmy's
No,
like, oh, come on.
You
give
see,
me-
like it's funny. Like I'll be sleeping, and all of a sudden, beep, beep, beep. My phone's going off. It's like dirt sheets. I'm like, Jesus Christ! I was like, what happened now? Dirt sheet. They say that so and so is a big jerk. I'm like, oh, for God's sake.
I don't know. That's where I'm a mark for myself. I love
No,
when me and
that's
Jimmy
cool.
in the
Hey,
dirt
look,
sheets.
listen. With all those people who like to talk shit about this show, we're the ones that get the dirt sheet. They don't. So you can choke on it.
This is true. And I got to tell you, when my father was driving that cab in the city for $25,000, he said two people stopped traffic, and one was superstar Billy Graham, the other was Muhammad Ali. He made a meager salary, but he knew who stopped traffic.
I thought you were going to say it was me. Mr. Monty, my mother kicked me out again. You got to give me a lift home. Oh, Jesus, for God's sake, it's that friend of Michael's again, that wrestling
Do you
friend.
know, Phil, when me and Jimmy used to go to the Garden, it only cost us $2.87 for really good seats, just so you know.
Yeah, but you forgot, though, when we went to school, we had to walk uphill both ways.
In the snow.
In the snow.
Driving
In the
snow.
snow. But eventually what happened, Phil, is when no woman would even look at me. I just went on the internet. That's where I used new technology and spent the money and bought myself a wife. And that's the most important.
You created an AI chick?
I will tell you this. You want to talk something funny? I'll let you guys go. But it's like, so I'm having the driveway done and the walks done, but I got to cut down these bushes, very big bushes in front of my house. So instead of getting a chainsaw, I decided to do an axe, right? And I thought I was going to fucking drop dead. But my wife's like, "What are you, stupid? Just get an electric saw, whatever, right?" So I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking of Jimmy. Jimmy's like, I hate AI. I'm being Jimmy right now. I'm using a fucking axe instead of like using a fucking chainsaw, right? I'm like, I'm going to use an axe because I won't use technology. I'm going to fucking use an axe.
I asked you where the fuck your chainsaw is. I'm like, why do you not have a chainsaw? By the way, why didn't you just ask your father's friend Artie to run the bushes over? He would have done it.
Well, Jimmy, when my father used to drive a cab in the city, he used to carry a chainsaw in the back. Anyway,
when he see Gorgeous George, he had to protect him.
Hopefully, everybody catches you tomorrow on radio, Phil. So you said you're on what radio? Watt Radio? Is that where you're at?
WPKZ, the K Zone, 105.3 FM, AM 1280, WPKZ.net. If you're in the neighborhood, if you're up early and you want to listen, it's an early day.
I like how he goes into his radio voice. Did you hear how quick he was talking? He went into his radio voice.
I can be half awake.
My wife loves his voice, Jimmy. She goes, "Ooh,
he's got a great voice."
Thank you, Mrs. Monty.
Don't be too grateful. Careful.
Yeah, be careful, dude. She'll be yours. I'll give her to you. She'll be knocking at your door with her suitcase, and I'll be sorry, Phil. You wanted her.
She can drive Jimmy over too. She can bring Jimmy over. Jimmy, you got to ride.
Is the president here? I'm here
Monty's
with the Pharaoh. Let us in.
Let me in, please.
Wait, I brought my 5 cats.
Wait, I think Hannibal is at the door too. I love that video.
Jimmy, send us out, buddy.
Excellent. Phil, thank you for coming on tonight. You've been watching Monty and the Pharaoh. And until next time, later.